Chapter 101. The gods were very dissatisfied with him for not carrying the burden. Although Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrols, is the first generation of Titan gods with seniority and great power, these new generation gods are not afraid of him. You have to know that they ascended to the throne of God only after they overthrew their own father god. Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrols, caused the world to go dark due to his poor performance. Even the gods on Mount Olympus could not see the specific situation on earth. They don't allow this kind of situation. Being high above and overlooking everything on earth is the privilege of being a god, and no one is allowed to deprive it of it. What's more, the sun is one of the basic laws of the world. Without the sun, there would be no heat, and the world would fall into coldness. The world fell into darkness, and a cold aura spread, as if it was about to plunge the world into an ice age. As a result of the chain reaction, some weaker gods and gods that needed the support of the sun fell into a deep sleep. And on the earth, panic is also spreading. Without the warmth and illumination of light, all kinds of plants and crops on the earth withered, and without edible fruits and food, animals also died one after another. Qin Mu used the players' bodies to see everything clearly, and couldn't help but frown. If he were still a plant priest, he would probably be greatly affected. The large-scale death of plants will cause him to fall from the throne of godhood and become a weak god even if he does not fall into a deep sleep. But chaos is also opportunity. As the saying goes, chaos is the ladder to success. Qin Mu thought of this and began to assign new tasks to the players. The first thing is to let the players who are mining and forging stop their work and go to the earth to rescue those creatures. The god of fire Hephaestus was then ordered to stop forging weapons and go to the earth to illuminate every place on earth with the light of fire. Although the god of fire Hephaestus is still young and his divine power is far from reaching its strongest state, he can still make a normal fire and emit heat. These practices have saved numerous lives across the vast land. These creatures were filled with gratitude for this, and they were even more grateful to the players and Qin Mu behind them. Qin Mu is certainly not doing a loss-making business for nothing, but by doing so, he can improve the favorability of these creatures, and the origin laws of the world will also reward him. In other words, he just moved his mouth, commanded the players to do things, and ultimately took most of the credit for himself. Even so, the god of fire Hephaestus benefited a lot during this period. The rewards from the original laws of the world accelerated his growth. On the other side, on Mount Olympus, the gods were still discussing countermeasures. The gods discussed how to deal with Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrols. As for who to send to contact Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrols, no one was chosen for the time being. If Zeus, the king of gods, were to go directly, wouldn't Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrol, think that there was no god on Mount Olympus? At this moment, Zeus had a flash of inspiration and looked at Qin Mu, his eyes vaguely showing a hint of conspiracy. Why hasn't this god who travels with Hera seen you before? He is a newly born god, my Hera's husband. Seeing that Zeus had bad intentions, the goddess Hera immediately stepped forward to rescue Qin Mu. The reason why he didn't reveal Qin Mu's true identity as the incarnation of the Lord of Grey Mist was because he knew that Zeus and he had a deep grudge and they might fight. As a god, you need to contribute to the world. I wonder if this god is willing to persuade Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrol. The wise Zeus ignored Hera and looked at Qin Mu aggressively. Qin Mu smiled calmly. He understood that Zeus wanted to embarrass him. However, this also gave him a chance to show himself. If he could handle this matter well, he would surely be able to impress the gods on Mount Olympus. If handled well, maybe you can occupy a seat on Mount Olympus. Thinking of this, he agreed. The goddess Hera gently held his hand with her white palm, indicating that she was willing to go with him. Qin Mu politely rejected her kindness and went alone to look for Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrol. Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrols, has always lived in the east of the world, which is similar to the legendary three-legged golden crow rising from the east and flying to the west. And there is a reason why he lives here. During the time of the god king Uranus, in order to resist the cruel and merciless Uranus, the 4 first-generation Titans stood at the 4 corners of the world and held down Uranus, preventing him from returning to the sky. Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrols, stood in the east. In order to commemorate this great event, the sun always rose from the east. The further east you go, the hotter the world becomes, and the intense heat causes the air to distort. Not to mention Hyperion, a Titan god of the generation, he is the incarnation of the sun and the earliest sun god. It's a pity that he was born in the world of Greek mythology. If he were in the Huaxia system, he would be at the same level as Dijun, a true emperor of heaven. Unfortunately, he was suppressed by Uranus, the god of the sky, and was no match for Cronus, the god of time. In the end, his throne as the king of gods was taken away by his younger brother Zeus. After a while, Qin Mu arrived at a steep and vast valley. "Weak god, are you sent by Zeus?" A somewhat arrogant voice sounded from the valley. In the blink of an eye, a figure radiating fiery light appeared before him. It was Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrol. He had a defiant face, a full beard, a tall and sturdy figure, and strong muscles. He looked extremely terrifying just by standing there, like the sun that was about to melt everything, making the sky and the earth pale in comparison. "Go back and tell Zeus that controlling the rising and setting of the sun is my area of divine responsibility, and I can do whatever I want," Hyperion said arrogantly and bluntly. As a titan, he believed that he should be the king of gods. Unfortunately, due to the intervention of Gaia, the mother goddess of the earth, Zeus, the younger generation, took the throne of the king of gods. He had been patient for a long time and was unhappy with Zeus, so this time he decided to give him a warning and let him know his importance. Qin Mu saw what he was thinking and couldn't help but shook his head secretly in his heart. This is a result of not having experienced the harsh punishments of society, and it is also a manifestation of standing too high and being arrogant and conceited. You know that you will make countless enemies by doing this. Even if you are a titan, you cannot stop the wrath of the gods. Have you forgotten your brothers who are still in the abyss? Qin Mu said directly, hoping to persuade him to turn back. Chapter 102. Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrol, felt a little nervous when he heard this, but he soon calmed down. "I am the sun that illuminates the sky and the earth. Without me, the world will fall into darkness." He understood his own importance and knew that without him, the world would be in chaos. "As long as I wait patiently, the gods will come to me and beg me." Thinking of this, he couldn't help but feel high-spirited, and his face showed an extremely arrogant look. The heat waves on his body came one after another, and the dazzling light was trapped inside the body, without any sign of leaking out. Seeing that he was stubborn, Qin Mu was speechless. Although gods are immortal and exist forever, they are not without the risk of death. Hyperion is so reckless that he is literally courting death. Giving up without a legitimate reason will only bring the wrath of the gods. Even Gaia, the mother goddess of the earth, will not allow him to act so recklessly. You have to know that the prosperous earth and lively creatures are all part of the creation of Gaia, the mother goddess of the earth. The death of them in large numbers would also make her heart broken. Your priestly laws are important and an indispensable part of this world, but you are not important. Do you understand? As long as the gods are determined to strip you of your priesthood and authority, you will regret it. In his view, the authority of the priesthood was not inseparable. This thing is like power. As long as there is someone with more power than him, his rights can be easily taken back. There is another way, that is, the majority of people can target a small number and take back people's rights. As the legend goes, water can carry a boat, but it can also capsize it. One of the people who could directly strip him of his priesthood authority was Gaia, the mother goddess of the earth. Qin Mu estimated that he could do it too, but he just hadn't tried it. This kind of thing is too taboo among the gods. Once discovered, it will inevitably arouse the hatred of other gods. If all the gods come together, they can also deprive Hyperion of his authority as the sun god. Who are you? How come you know so much? Why have I never seen you before? Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrol, stared at Qin Mu with confusion in his eyes. Seeing that he was doubting himself, Qin Mu stopped pretending and changed his body shape directly, exchanging his main body and clone. An irresistible, vast, and boundless divine power emerged and flowed rapidly in the body. In an instant, the valley was filled with brilliant light and countless golden lights burst out, so dazzling that it seemed as if one had arrived in a country made of gold. God of plants? No, how can your divine power be like this? When Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrol, saw this, his face changed immediately and he put away his arrogant and proud look. When he was young, he occasionally came into contact with Qin Mu. Whenever the father god Uranus wanted to drink and taste delicious food, he would send a young titan to the Emerald Plains. It was at that time that he accidentally came into contact with this mysterious god of plants. Later, I heard that he existed before the birth of the world, which was even more astonishing. Before the world was born, it was chaos. There was no time, no space, and no living creatures. It was not until the birth of Gaia, the mother goddess of the earth, that the world came to life. Even now, when his divine power has reached the peak of a high-level god, he is still unable to survive freely in the chaos. Don't worry about it, I'm just taking it a step further. Qin Mu had a smile on his face, looking calm. This appearance made Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrol, feel unfathomable. When he was patrolling in the sky before, he had seen the fight between Zeus and the god of plants. At that time, the god of plants was just the god of plants, far from the all-encompassing feeling he has today, as if everything is under his control. Suddenly he remembered the rumors about the gods above gods that were spread among the gods. At that time, he was still disdainful. He thought that gods were gods, extremely noble and of high status. There was no such thing as gods above gods. But now, when he saw the god of plants, this original ancient being, the Lord of Grey Mist, he also had the idea of becoming a god above all else. It was like seeing an ancient primitive god, and there was no thought of resisting at all. Seeing him like this, Qin Mu was very satisfied. He is not deliberately playing the pig and eating the tiger, enjoying this atmosphere of being slapped in the face. But when this kind of situation really happened, I felt a strange feeling in my heart that I could make this powerful and noble god lose his composure like this. I just feel that the long years of hard training and harvesting players are all worth it. As your elder, I have watched you grow up, and I don't want you to go astray. Your actions have angered the gods and the people. The gods on Mount Olympus are planning to punish you. Gaia, the mother goddess of the earth, has not shown up, and she is obviously dissatisfied with you. You have to take care of yourself. After these words, Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrol, broke out in a cold sweat. This is the difference between people. With different status, the words they say will have different effects. If he was just a weak god, Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrol, would not listen to him at all. But the one who now appeared before him was a being even older than him, more powerful, and the words he spoke carried different weight. Great Lord of Grey Mist, the supreme being that transcends the boundaries of gods, I already know my mistakes, please help me. Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrol, could no longer care about anything else, and immediately lowered himself, looking very humble. Seeing that he admitted his mistake so quickly, Qin Mu nodded and began to guide him. He said directly, you now need to make up for your mistakes. Many gods have lost their power because of you, and many creatures on earth have died. You are not fit to appear in the world right now. If you appear, you might be attacked by gods who resent you. I suggest that you transfer your position as the sun priest to your son Helios, and you apologize to Gaia, the earth goddess. With Gaia's protection, even if the other gods are angry, they won't dare to attack you. After listening to Qin Mu's words, Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrol, felt that it made sense, but he was still a little hesitant. Great Lord of Grey Mist, my son Helios is only a mid-level god. He is not capable of controlling my solar priesthood at all. For gods, it is not possible to use the priesthood directly after obtaining it. They also need to practice step by step, comprehend the fundamental laws of the world, and enhance their divine power. Qin Mu obtained the priesthood of plants, and it took him a long time to adapt to it before he could master it to such an extent that it was like an arm. Chapter 103. It's okay, I will help him. Qin Mu waved his hand, exuding a domineering attitude, and directly agreed. Hephaestus, the god of fire, is good at creating various artifacts. When the time comes, let him create an artifact that can assist Helios. Poor Hephaestus, the god of fire, had no idea that he was about to accept a new challenge to create a magical artifact that could control the sun for the new sun god Helios. Seeing Qin Mu so confident, Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrol, couldn't help but believe him. This is the inertia of thinking. It is the same for humans or gods. They believe that beings more powerful than themselves will not deceive them. After a while, Helios was called over by his father Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrol. Father God, is there something you want me to do? Are you preparing to return to heaven? The handsome and heroic Helios walked over. My dear son Helios, I am ready to pass my divine position to you. You will become the second generation of the sun god. What, my great father, what has changed your thinking and ideas? Helios said in disbelief with his eyes wide open. Suddenly, he saw Qin Mu standing aside and spoke in a stiff and cold tone. Are you a god from Mount Olympus? Have you changed my father's mind? Helios, don't speak to the great being in this tone. You must always remain humble. Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrol, scolded with a majestic look. Helios looked at his father god, who actually scolded him for an outsider. He stood there for a moment, not knowing what to say. It's okay, just follow the plan. Helios, your father has done such a wrong thing, and now he has caused the wrath of heaven and man. As his son, you need to help make amends. He raised his hand, and a ray of golden light cut through the darkness and flew straight into Helios' mind. In an instant, Helios seemed to see the tragic situation happening on the earth. The plants on the earth stopped growing, there was no harvest, the land was barren, and countless creatures fell down and died due to lack of food. These tragic scenes made the young and brave Helios feel palpitations and panic in his heart. The deaths of countless lives were caused by the willfulness of his father god. As a son, he should have stood on the side of his father god, but seeing this situation, he also understood the mistakes of his father god. He raised his head, his eyes were somewhat complicated, and he spoke in a firm tone. Just tell me what you need me to do, and I will make it right. At this moment, he only wanted the sun to rise again and restore order on earth as soon as possible. When order is restored, such tragic things will not happen to the creatures living on earth. Hyperion, you have a son who is virtuous and devoted to his father. Qin Mu looked at Helios's performance and immediately said with a smile. Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrol, was also very happy to hear his praise for his son. Then he suddenly tore apart his own solar priesthood, split most of it into two and gave it to his son. When the solar priesthood filled with flames and light merged into Helios' body, Helios' whole body emanated burning flames and his skin turned golden, as if he were a god made of gold. In an instant, the strength of Helios, who was originally mediocre, suddenly increased, and his aura soared. His original appearance was already extraordinarily handsome, and he could be said to be a beautiful man. Now he was completely transformed and had an extraordinary temperament. Although he had not yet reached the strength of a high-level god, the dazzling light and terrifying aura he emanated made some weaker gods tremble in fear. After becoming the sun god, Helios closed his eyes and felt the changes taking place in his body. After confirming that the solar priesthood was completely integrated, he suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Qin Mu. Dear God, I will take the place of my father and spread the sun's light to the earth, so that the world will be filled with light again. After saying this, all the divine power gushed out from his body, surrounding him and forming a huge sun. This sun is much smaller than Hyperion, the god of the sun and patrols. It is also much dimmer in shape. However, when it appeared, it still brought vitality to the earth, and all things regained light. For this, they were grateful to the new sun god. When Qin Mu returned to Mount Olympus again, he was greeted by the surprised and shocked eyes of the gods. How is this possible? He actually did it. Isn't Hyperion, the god of the sun and the patrol, an arrogant god? Why would he listen to the words of a strange god? Thanks to this god, the sun's light has returned to the earth, and everything is in order again. Qin Mu ignored these gods and walked straight towards Hera, who was coming to meet him. My dear husband, I knew you could do it. As she spoke, Hera offered her passionate red lips. Qin Mu was very calm about this and responded with an even more passionate French kiss. The gods around looked at all these discoveries with envy and surprise in their eyes. On the Olympic mountain, this kind of thing happens from time to time and is not a big deal. However, the protagonist this time is Hera, the goddess of marriage and fertility. She is cold and beautiful, and looks down on the existence of any male god. At this moment, she seemed like a different person, passionate, exuding a charming aura, extremely attractive. This made some male gods feel as if they were jealous, with mixed feelings that were hard to describe. Qin Mu felt the gazes gathered around him, a gleam in his eyes, and he stretched out his strong arms, embraced Hera's slender waist, and brought her back to the magnificent and exquisite palace. This exquisite palace is naturally the palace where Hera lives. Why did Qin Mu know this? This is the importance of information. As the two of them communicated in depth, Zeus, who was sitting on the throne of the gods, had a gloomy face and a heart like a storm, unable to vent. If it weren't for the obstruction of the god of plants, I would have succeeded long ago. Thinking of his noble and elegant sister Hera, she was also peerless among all the gods and fairies. Whether it was her dignified and noble temperament or her peerless beauty, she was one of the best in the world. Unfortunately, at this time, she fell into the hands of others and they became a couple, so it was difficult for me to take action by force. As the king of gods, although he can mess around with those pure and beautiful fairies, nymphs, and goddesses, he cannot touch married goddesses. If he really touches the boundary of this taboo, the gods will inevitably be outraged and drive him off the altar. Chapter 104. Thinking of this, Zeus seemed even more annoyed. He decided to leave Mount Olympus and go to the earth to hunt for beauties in order to relieve his restless heart. Just as he stood up, left the throne and was about to leave. Dang dang dang! The sound of metal colliding came from inside the body. The violent sound came suddenly, spreading from the abdomen to the brain, making Zeus feel as if a hammer was hitting his head. What's going on? Zeus shook his head, somewhat confused, his eyes full of doubt. Although he was confused, the voices in his body continued, and the noisy sounds lingered over his body and mind. The sound was rapid and noisy, like a violent storm, as if someone was hammering something into his body. Zeus immediately thought of Métis, the goddess of wisdom in his body. Immediately, he put his consciousness into his body and saw an incredible scene. Métis, goddess of wisdom, what are you doing inside me? Zeus, his eyes filled with anger, loudly questioned the goddess of wisdom Métis. Métis, the goddess of wisdom, was seen inside the empty body of Zeus, using her own wisdom ministry and Zeus' thunder ministry as the main materials, as well as thoughts, knowledge, consciousness, and beliefs. I want to create a powerful and exquisite armor. Dear Zeus, our child is about to be born, and this is the gift I prepared for him. Métis, the goddess of wisdom, swung the giant hammer in her hand and struck Zeus hard. The sound of metal collision spread throughout Zeus' body. You should know that sound is conductive and spreads outward in the form of sound waves. The greater the frequency and amplitude of the knocking sound, the louder the volume will be. This resulted in the chaotic knocking sounds being transmitted from Zeus' body to his brain. Even though he was a god king with boundless power and an indestructible body, he could not avoid the destruction of this voice. The brain is his most vulnerable part and is the most affected, not to mention that the sound comes from his body. For a moment, Zeus's thoughts on pursuing women and girls disappeared. At this moment, he felt dizzy, as if there were thousands of insects and ants gnawing at his body, or as if he was being cut into pieces and was in extreme pain. Dear goddess of wisdom Métis, please stop hitting me. I can't stand it anymore. Zeus begged desperately and said all the nice things he could think of, hoping that Métis, the goddess of wisdom, would stop. But the goddess of wisdom, Métis, acted as if she didn't hear anything and continued to beat the exquisite gift, preparing to give it to her unborn child. Between her husband and her children, the goddess of wisdom, Métis, chose the child. Obviously, Mortis loved this unborn child more, so she poured countless efforts into him. Zeus's painful wail echoed throughout Mount Olympus, and for a moment, attracted the attention of all the gods here. What's going on? Why is Zeus howling in the middle of the night? Is it the distortion of human nature or the loss of morality? What shocking secret is hidden behind the painful wailing of the god king? Could it be that she also saw that Hera, the goddess of marriage and fertility, had a handsome husband, and finally couldn't hold back her grief and anger and cried out loudly? A male god who loves Hera but dares not express his feelings, thought to himself. What a bummer, what is that BD Zeus doing? Hera, who was half naked and leaning against Qin Mu with a proud posture, frowned slightly and said with some dissatisfaction. Qin Mu pondered for a moment, and a flash of inspiration came to his mind, and he thought of the reason. The time must be right. Athena will be born soon. He thought about some things about Zeus, including the story of how Zeus had a splitting headache, split his brain, and gave birth to Athena. His eyes flickered, and he realized why Zeus was calling him. He couldn't help but feel relieved, and his face regained its calmness. Don't worry about him. I just thought of a set of dual cultivation techniques that can increase our divine power. Let's try it out. As he spoke, he held Hera's elastic body with his hands, and his fingertips lingered on her curvy and seductive body. Hera also smiled sweetly, and her slender waist climbed up like a snake. Oh my god, is this the price to pay for being cursed? I finally understand why Gaia, the Earth Mother Goddess, hated the first god king Uranus so much. Putting a newborn baby back into the body is absolutely a wrong approach. Zeus covered his ears and hugged his head, but he still couldn't stop the sound of ding dong dong from entering his mind. In a trance, he thought of the Earth Mother Goddess Gaia and her children rebelling against the first god king Uranus. At that time, the first king of gods, Uranus, hated the ugliness of the Cyclops and Hecatonchus born to the Earth Mother Gaia, so he stuffed them back into Gaia's womb. I guess Gaia, the mother goddess of the earth at that time, couldn't bear the wailing and crying of the Cyclops and the 100-armed giant in her body, so she finally made up her mind. This long echoing sound, like eternal torture, destroyed every nerve and consciousness of Zeus. For a period of time thereafter, the goddess of wisdom Métis made a constant ding-dong-dong sound every day, and the sound reached Zeus' ears endlessly, tormenting him. With the goddess of wisdom Métis working day and night without rest, the prototype was gradually created. It was a set of exquisite armor. This armor is gorgeous and exquisite, full of powerful power. Every part of the armor has been carefully carved and contains the infinite mysteries and wisdom of the world. What's even more amazing is that since the material used is the thunder power of Zeus, wearing this armor is equivalent to having the same divine power as Zeus. Zeus took on the cost of making the armor. The pain made him scream and wail, his eyes were red, and he looked like a madman. He also thought about spitting out Métis, the goddess of wisdom, but the priesthood of the sky and the priesthood of wisdom were integrated into each other. You are in me and I am in you, and they cannot be separated. In other words, the goddess of wisdom Métis can no longer leave Zeus' body. The two have long since merged into one, with only the consciousness being separated. The gods on the side watched all this happen in shock, but unfortunately no god could help Zeus. Please help me, and keep me away from this endless pain and suffering. Zeus made a trembling voice, his consciousness blurred, and pleaded to the gods in front of him. The gods looked at each other, at a loss as to what to do, and no one moved. It's not that they don't want to help Zeus, but they don't have any priesthood responsible for treatment, and they are helpless in dealing with Zeus' headache. Problem. Chapter 105. The intense pain tortured Zeus all the time, making him exhausted both physically and mentally. The god who was supposed to be eternally youthful and immortal now has a haggard and old face, and his hair has turned white. This huge change made even Poseidon, who was dissatisfied with Zeus, feel a sense of grief. There is no god present who is in charge of healing, so they can't help you at all. Poseidon, the god of the sea, said with an embarrassed look on his face. Besides, this is not an illness. There is no way to relieve your pain through simple treatment. Poseidon and the gods also guessed that it was Zeus who got an upset stomach from eating too much. The one causing trouble in his stomach was none other than Métis, the goddess of wisdom. When Zeus heard this, his face was filled with pain. He clenched his teeth and refused to succumb to the pain. I am the god king who controls the sky. I have a high status and great power. Even the gods submit to me. What does a little pain mean to me? He kept talking and brainwashing himself, trying to overcome the pain, but it was of no use. Get out of the way, I found a solution. At this time, a strong female voice sounded. The person coming was Themis, the goddess of justice and order, and one of Zeus' wives. She was seen walking in from outside the hall, followed by two players. A player was hunched over, like a haggard old man. Another player, wearing a white coat and wooden glasses, looked around, amazed at everything. If Qin Mu was present, he would definitely be able to see that this person was the student with expertise in both traditional Chinese and Western medicine that he had specially selected. They are worthy of being called Crouching Dragon and Phoenix Young, bringing him pain, torment, torture, and other divine duties, which can be said to be great achievements. Although, his original intention was to obtain divine powers such as treatment, cure, Chinese medicine, and medical skills. Why did you bring these two tree spirits here? Can they save Zeus? I always feel that the aura they exude is somewhat disgusting. I'd better stay away from them. The followers created by the god of plants have all kinds of strange abilities. They may bring unexpected surprises. Themis, the goddess of justice and order, explained the causes and consequences of everything to the two players. So it's to relieve the pain. That's easy. Just give me 3 injections and it'll be fine. Look at the 3 ghost needles passed down from my ancestors. The student who was studying traditional Chinese medicine straightened his back instantly, with a confident glow on his face, so dazzling. He walked quickly forward to Zeus's side, shining with confidence. With a wave of his hand, a wooden brocade box appeared on the side. This was the silver needle he asked his friend to make in the underworld. Look at my 3 ghost gate needles. 3 needles will work, and 5 needles will eradicate all the pain and suffering. As he spoke, he quickly picked up the silver needle, which left countless after images and suddenly stabbed Zeus' head, neck, and face. It is said to be slow, but it is actually fast. It seems to be just a blink of an eye, but in fact it contains countless efforts. Especially for Zeus, the king of gods, who had infinite power, a strong physique, and a body as hard as steel, it took him a lot of effort to insert the silver needle into the acupuncture point. The Chinese medicine player wiped the non-existent sweat from his forehead and took 2 deep breaths. As the saying goes, 3 minutes on stage takes 10 years of hard work off stage. The 3 injections he just received were the result of his 10 years of hard study and self-study. He turned around, smiled confidently, and spoke to the gods. My treatment is complete. Themis, the goddess of justice and order, Poseidon, and other gods were also stunned. Just stabbing Zeus 3 times randomly, will that cure him? No need for herbs, no need for bloodletting. Just acupuncture will do. This kind of treatment is totally unheard of. It's really strange. I don't know if it will work. Facing the gods' disbelieving gazes, the TCM player didn't waste time talking to them. TCM is profound and extensive, and these gods have never seen it, so of course they don't know the mysteries contained in it. He turned to face Zeus again and spoke. Respected God King, are you feeling better? It doesn't seem to hurt so much. At this moment, Zeus felt that all the noise and all the pain were far away from him, and he felt very comfortable and happy. He was about to put his hands on the throne and stand up, but he found that his body seemed unable to move and he had lost consciousness. What's going on? Why can't I feel anything in my body? Why can't I move? Zeus moved his limbs in panic, but every part of his body remained motionless. Even his most important parts stopped responding, which made him terrified and extremely panicked. As the king of gods, there can't be any problems with that place. You must know that among gods, reproduction is the most important supreme right. If he loses this ability, he will no longer have the right to rule the gods and will inevitably be driven off the altar. This was a fact he could not bear and accept. You have to know that he made so much effort for the throne of God King and even swallowed his wife and children. Now, I am enduring the pain and torture from my stomach day and night. Damn tree spirit, what on earth did you do to me? Why is my divine body paralyzed? Zeus was furious, his eyes were red, and he seemed to want to kill this Chinese medicine player. After seeing this, the other gods gathered around and looked at the Chinese medicine player with cold eyes, emitting terrifying pressure and cold aura. It's over. Another patient has been injured. The Chinese medicine player was extremely nervous and couldn't help swallowing. He quickly waved his hands and spoke to the gods. My dear noble gods, please listen to my explanation. Didn't we say that we should stop the God King's headache? Look, he doesn't feel any pain now. I'm prescribing the right medicine for his condition. It's making his nerves temporarily lose the ability to transmit pain. Of course, you've seen the side effect, which is that his body can't move. The TCM player thought quickly and started making up stories, not admitting at all that it was his own problem. The medical troublemakers in the mythical world are so scary. They seem to be out to tear me apart. Luckily, I am immortal. If I die here, I can be resurrected again. But if I really paralyze the God King Zeus this time, my reputation will be ruined. Thinking of this, the Chinese medicine player volunteered, his eyes emitting confidence again, and spoke loudly. Give me another chance and I will cure Zeus, the king of gods. After hearing his words, the gods gradually faded their hostile looks. I hope you can really do it. If you keep talking nonsense, I will throw you into the endless ocean to feed the fish. Poseidon, the god of the sea, said coldly, then leaned back and watched his operation. Chapter 106. Seeing the gods retreat, the Chinese medicine player also breathed a sigh of relief. The pressure he had just put on him was so great that he couldn't help but feel his legs go weak. Here, he is even more grateful to the great God who brought him into the game. If it weren't for the game, he would have been beaten to death by his family in real life, or he would have fed himself medicine and died on the spot. After coming to this world, he had countless experimental subjects, and he himself was immortal, so he was not afraid of medical disputes. After clearing away all distracting thoughts, the Chinese medicine player took a deep breath and observed Zeus again. The 4 steps of traditional Chinese medicine are observation, auscultation, questioning and palpation. This god king was originally tall and strong with a dignified look, but now he has become much thinner due to illness, with white hair on both sides, and he looks decades older. He moved closer to Zeus and sniffed his scent. A scent mixed with countless flowers rushed straight to my head. Traditional Chinese medicine players are also plant incarnations, so they are certainly not unfamiliar with this and immediately recognized it as the scent of perfume sprayed on different women. Sure enough, the legend that Zeus was a philanderer and spent every day with beautiful women is not a false legend. Traditional Chinese medicine players couldn't help but sigh. As expected, if your status is high enough, you will have countless beauties around you. Like him, he has graduated from college, but has never had a girlfriend. The only senior schoolmate he liked was so frightened after hearing his name that she took a train back to her hometown overnight. He pulled out the 3 silver needles. Seeing that Zeus still didn't move, he knew that it would be of no use to pull it out, as his body was still paralyzed. At this moment, behind him was an extremely vicious god, and he could only go ahead with gritted teeth. Well, let's take it one step at a time. Soon, he took out more silver needles and pierced Zeus' body one after another. This time, he not only pierced his head, but also his body. After each injection, he would ask Zeus how it was going. And Zeus, the king of gods and a natural god, had never suffered such torture. He just felt that every time the needle was inserted, it was a strange feeling. Sometimes I feel extremely itchy, sometimes I feel dry mouth, and sometimes I feel powerless as if my energy is draining away. The suffering and pain he had endured were more than he had ever experienced in his entire life. After being injected with 80 needles, Zeus finally felt like he had recovered. His fingers could move and his body responded. But at this moment, he felt the harsh sound coming from his body again, and for a moment, he seemed to have returned to hell. Let another tree spirit come and help me take a look. Zeus looked at the Chinese medicine player beside him with disgust. However, his pain has not been completely resolved yet, so he did not think of taking revenge on the tree spirit. Hear Zeus calling himself. Western medicine players have made their debut and are striding forward. I saw that he was carrying a shoulder bag on his back. The bag was bulging with many things in it, making clinking noises. This professional look seems to be more trusted by the gods than the Chinese medicine player who just used silver needles to treat Zeus. I feel like this tree spirit will bring us a surprise. Looking at his posture and his preparations, he must be experienced and have amazing skills. I hope so. At this time, Prometheus, the god of foresight, had white light in his eyes, as if he had glimpsed the future. His eyes looked a little strange, and he opened his mouth to say something, but swallowed it back in the end. He knew what the result would be, but telling him what happened would not cure Zeus' headache. However, after the two of them treated him, the gods finally found a way to help Zeus. Thinking of this, Prometheus stood where he was, watching the free development of things motionlessly without trying to change it. The Western medicine player put down his backpack and took out many bottles and jars from it. There are many powders and liquids in these bottles and jars. Black, white, gray, purple, blue, green, so colorful that it is impossible to tell what material it is. My treatment is to suppress the pain with drugs. The Western medicine player explained to the gods and Zeus while pouring powders and liquids from many bottles and jars and stirring them together with a glue stick. After hearing his explanation, all the gods present looked at him expectantly. Only Prometheus, standing aside, had a strange expression on his face, not knowing what to say. Finally, a bottle of potion with a light blue glow was produced, and the potion gave off a strange sweet and bitter taste. Yes, if you can cure me, I will definitely make you the god of medicine, in charge of curing all diseases and injuries in the world. As Zeus spoke, he took the potion and drank it all in one gulp with his head held high. After drinking it, the strange taste in the potion made Zeus frown, but he still endured it and swallowed it. Compared to the tormenting sounds that continued day and night, this disgusting smell was nothing. After a while, Zeus felt his brain was a little dizzy, and the sound of metal clashing seemed to no longer torture him. It became very gentle and moved away from him. Good, good, this medicine works. Zeus slapped his thigh, very happy, with a surprised expression on his face. Just when he was about to reward the Western medicine player, he suddenly saw strange expressions on the faces of the gods. There is shock, surprise, fear, and contemplation. A bad premonition arose in Zeus' heart. No way, is this tree spirit also a swindler? Thinking of this, Zeus couldn't help but feel depressed. My dear brother, how do you feel? At this time, Poseidon walked up again, with curiosity and inquiry in his eyes. Why does Poseidon speak so fast? Just as he was about to ask, Zeus suddenly realized that his reaction ability had become slow. At this moment, his reaction was as slow and strange as that of a snail, like a dying, withered old man. When Prometheus saw this scene, he couldn't bear to watch it and turned his head away. Upon seeing this, the other gods glared at the Western medicine player. "Damn liar, you actually harmed the king of gods like this. Burn him, roast him in the fire of Olympus. Why are these two tree spirits so deceiving? Is there no perfect way to rescue Zeus?" For a moment, the hall was in chaos, bustling with people and noisy sounds. Zeus felt as if he was in a dream, watching the gods talking and moving at an extremely fast speed. When the sun rose to noon, Zeus felt that he had changed back and was on the same channel as the gods again. "Damn you, your potion has too many side effects. If you don't show your true abilities, I will use the thunder and lightning that can destroy everything in the world to smash you to pieces." Under Zeus' stern and cannibalistic gaze, the Western medicine player's legs and feet went weak and he sat down on the ground with a plop. "No, no, no, I have another way. Let me try again." Chapter 107. As long as your trigeminal nerve is blocked, the pain will not reach your brain. Trust me this time, there will be no problem. Let me try again. The Western medicine player made all kinds of assurances, his eyes full of sincerity. Zeus was a little scared, but thinking of the endless torture, he endured it and prepared to let him try again. The trigeminal nerve is where the body transmits sensations. Most of the pain is transmitted by it. If it can be destroyed, the pain will not be transmitted to the brain. After this explanation, Zeus and the gods immediately understood what he meant, and their eyes were filled with hope. "That's very well said. Even a god like me who doesn't know anything about medicine can understand it. I feel like this is a sure thing. It will definitely cure the God King's headache. Indeed, this is infinitely better than the guy just now using needles to randomly insert it." When I asked him the principle, he couldn't explain it. Seeing that he had convinced them, the Chinese medicine player breathed a sigh of relief and began the next step of diagnosis. He didn't know whether he could succeed this time. After all, his skills were about the same as those of the traditional Chinese medicine players. Among the players, they are called Crouching Dragon and Phoenix Chick, and it is not for nothing. In a blink of an eye, he took out a syringe, prepared the medicine, and injected it into the back of Zeus' head. The pale white medicine slowly flowed into Zeus' body as the syringe was pushed in. Zeus felt a chill in his brain, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from him, and he no longer had that feeling of carrying a heavy load. He was not in a hurry. He first tested his body to see if he could move and see if there were any problems with other parts. He looked at the gods around him again and realized that his movements were not slowing down, so he breathed a sigh of relief. "My headache is finally cured. All the suffering I endured was not in vain," Zeus muttered to himself. "Just when I was about to laugh out loud to express my happiness, I suddenly found that my face was like an ice cube and I couldn't move. What's going on? Why has my face become so stiff?" When the traditional Chinese medicine players heard this, they couldn't help but be delighted. "I am dying of laughter. He actually cured my facial paralysis. You are indeed my good brother." The Western medicine player was a little flustered, but he remained calm and spoke to Zeus sincerely. "Great God King, only in this way can you enjoy peace and not be tortured by pain. Look, now you are free from pain." Hearing this, Zeus had a blank expression on his face. It's not that he doesn't want to express anything, but he really can't. "I am the king of gods, of high status. How can I appear in front of the world and gods in this appearance? You have to find a way to restore my face." "Ah, this." The two players looked at each other, their eyes filled with bitterness. "Sure enough, the illness of the gods is not so easy to cure. I originally wanted to come here to gain some experience, but I didn't expect it to be like this." The Western medicine player gritted his teeth, walked forward and said to Zeus, "Your Majesty, this is the best way. If you continue to treat me, I'm afraid I'll have to drill a hole in your head to look for the pathogen." "What? A big hole? This is too weird. How can you treat it like this? Even if it's a god's head, it's very dangerous to make a big hole in it. Great God King, otherwise you should stay like this." The gods below were discussing among themselves and disagreed with the idea of chiseling open the skull. "Quiet!" There was a loud bang sound of the table being slammed, and Zeus suddenly stood up, looking at the gods like a wolf hawk, asking them to stop the quarrel. "In that case, let's do this. Who can help me smash open my skull?" Zeus knew that these two tree spirits could not smash open his indestructible head. The skin can relax its defenses to allow them to be pierced, but the skull cannot reduce its hardness by relaxing its defenses. The gods avoided his eyes when they were stared at by him. Some lowered their heads, some turned their bodies sideways. No god dared to look him in the face, and no god dared to do such a heinous thing. This kind of thing is too unbelievable. No god is willing or dares to do it. If Zeus were hit to death with a stick, he might cause trouble when he revived from the ocean, the origin of the world. In the original myth, Zeus called upon Hephaestus, the god of fire, who was a simple and honest man. The god of fire Hephaestus obeyed Zeus's words very well and smashed his head with one hammer. When the skull was broken open, Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war, emerged from it. But now Hephaestus, the god of fire, was picked up by Qin Mu and is now on the earth. There is no way and it is impossible for him to help Zeus open his head on Mount Olympus. Time passed little by little, and no god dared to step forward, and the efficacy of the medicine gradually lost its effect due to the strength of Zeus's body. So, Zeus felt the pain and torture again, and this time the side effects of the treatment were added, making it even more uncomfortable. Zeus sat on the huge throne, sweat dripping from his forehead and his face pale. His eyes were tightly closed, his hands were pressed tightly against his temples, a violent tremor passed through his body, and he groaned in pain. The sound was filled with unspeakable pain. Qin Mu, who was watching from a distance, couldn't help but twitch his lips. This was too miserable. According to legend, Zeus was tortured to the point of unbearable pain. Now, being treated by two players in turn, his condition has not improved, but seems to have worsened. Will Zeus die from the pain? Qin Mu had such a strange thought in his mind. But he soon gave up this ridiculous idea. Gods are gods. No matter what, they can't be tortured to death by pain. At most, they will just go crazy. My dear, why don't we go and take a look? After all, he is my brother. After the battle, Hera's face flushed, but there was worry in her eyes. Come to think of it, as the king of gods, he had to endure such pain, and other gods would feel grieved when they heard and saw it. Not to mention, Zeus's wails and screams have been echoing on Mount Olympus for 3 days and 3 nights. Even if Hera had a heart of stone and some resentment towards him, it had mostly disappeared by now. Qin Mu thought about it and agreed. He also needs to consider Hera's thoughts. It was just the right time for you to get to Zeus' side and witness with your own eyes the famous scene of the screams of Zeus, the extremely powerful god of the sky. Soon, the two of them arrived at the tallest and most magnificent palace on Mount Olympus. At this time, Zeus was sitting on the tall throne in the center of the magnificent palace, holding his head and wailing. The atmosphere around was depressing and heavy. The gods were silent and the scene was silent. Chapter 108. Respected Hera, the goddess of fertility and marriage, welcome. Some gods were not surprised to see Hera coming late, but bowed their heads in salute. Qin Mu found this scene very funny and interesting. The Greek gods, although they are called gods and control various rules of the world, actually have human emotions and desires and are not much different from humans. This scene is so similar to some scenes in the human world. Looking around, the male god hasn't changed much, but some beautiful goddesses are in tears about what happened to Zeus. Qin Mu didn't know if they were feeling sorry for Zeus, or if they were all Zeus's lovers, so Qin Mu still admires some aspects of Zeus. As a person born in such an unrestrained, heroic, and uninhibited world, he has become a god king with a respected status and supreme power. Treat every lover equally and give them your sincerity and love. Qin Mu thought he couldn't do this. The reason why he is polite to women is not because he loves them deeply or because he is kind-hearted. It is all because of the education he received from childhood to adulthood in real life, which taught him to respect and love. He didn't really take those goddesses with whom he had in-depth communication seriously, he was just a little closer to them than ordinary strangers. For him, their role is mainly to enhance his strength and promote his perception and understanding of the fundamental laws of the world. They will not really be regarded as mistresses or heroines by Qin Mu. Maybe it's a bit extreme, but this is the reality. Beneath that affectionate look, there is only a cold heart. Boom boom, boom boom. A sound like a woodpecker knocking on a tree was heard and echoed in the hall. Is there any god who really dares to open Zeus' head? The gods were surprised and looked in the direction of the sound, but they were surprised to see only Zeus. What's going on? Why can't I see anyone? Why can I only hear the sound but not see the person? Could it be that it was made by Zeus himself? No, it seems like it's Zeus' head that's ringing. All of a sudden, the gods confirmed the news and looked at each other with confusion in their eyes. Qin Mu took a look and felt that a new force was gushing out of Zeus' body. This power has the same origin as Zeus, but is somewhat different. Is this the birth of Athena? Qin Mu watched all this happen with interest and did not intervene. He wanted to see if Athena would die in the womb and would not be able to break out of Zeus' body. You know, Athena developed in Zeus' body for a long time, absorbed a lot of Zeus' divine power, and was an adult when she was born. Logically speaking, her divine power is similar to that of Zeus. Since they are almost the same, it would be difficult to break free from Zeus' physical restraints and truly be born. There are some wise men among the gods, and they have analyzed and thought of this possibility. They gathered around and looked at Zeus's forehead, not knowing how to start. Zeus' wife, Themis, the goddess of justice and order, was also a little angry. Zeus swallowed his wife and children for power and status, and now he is getting the retribution. She was very dissatisfied with Zeus' behavior, and secretly vowed in her heart that she must create a set of responsibilities and obligations regarding family and marriage to restrain Zeus. On the other side, the newborn Athena was inside Zeus' body, holding a spear and wearing armor, constantly poking at Zeus' head. The collision between the spear and the skull made Zeus's already extremely painful spirit tense again, and his face became even more distorted. This won't work. We need to help her. The Western medicine player who was closest saw a faint golden light emanating from Zeus's skull, and there was a figure knocking hard inside, and he spoke. You don't even need to tell me that. If I could have saved him, I would have done it long ago. The gods were helpless, otherwise they would not let their leader of the gods suffer so much. You guys exert your strength outside. The combined strength of the two should be able to break the God King's solid head. It seems that this is the only way. Poseidon, the god of the sea, with an impatient look on his face, was the first to stand up. He had wasted too long on this matter and had already exhausted his remaining patience. Zeus is his younger brother, but he has more important things to do, which is to choose a sea queen with a graceful figure and beautiful appearance for himself. If Zeus died, he would just swallow up Zeus's power over the sky, and then he could marry another queen. As he raised his hand, a slender trident appeared in his hand, emitting endless power. That was the power of the sea, the tsunami, and the sinkhole, all coming together and suddenly smashing towards Zeus' head. When the other gods saw Poseidon taking the first move, they also took out their methods and suddenly attacked Zeus' head. For a moment, the field was full of colorful lights, and the surging divine power mixed with various abilities gathered together. Athena in Zeus' body seemed to have sensed this as well, and gathered powerful divine power within Zeus' body, smashing it towards the same direction and the same point. Snap! There was a loud bang, and Zeus' head could not withstand such a horrible attack. It shattered completely like a smashed watermelon. Hiss! The gods had not expected this scene. They took 2 steps back with their eyes wandering. At this moment, in Zeus's shattered head, there was a brilliant glow and golden light, as if some rare treasure was born. The gods watched the birth of this new god quietly without blinking. The divine light is like a road filled with the ultimate principles and rules of heaven and earth. Just by looking at it, one can feel the wisdom of the world. The divine light faded away, and at the end of the road appeared a female deity wearing golden armor, with a graceful, slender figure. I am Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war. I will take over my mother's divinity and bring peace and prosperity to the world. When she first appeared before the gods, she was not timid at all, and her eyes were filled with wisdom, as if she were an adult. Praise you, beautiful goddess, and bless you, fearless warrior. Possessing the 2 divine offices of wisdom and war, he is truly an amazing being. This is the child born to Metis, the goddess of wisdom, and Zeus. He is indeed extremely gifted and possesses power that overwhelms most gods since birth. At this time, Athena had just appeared in the world and had not yet adapted to her own strength. She was surrounded by divine light, dazzling and eye-catching, sacred and glorious. Poor child, let me see you. Themis, the goddess of justice and order, walked forward, her perfect face full of kindness and her eyes shining with maternal love. Chapter 109. When Qin Mu saw Athena, a strange look flashed in his eyes, which was an appreciation of beauty. As one of the 3 virgin goddesses in Greek mythology, Athena's beauty is absolutely top-notch. The long purple hair was draped over her slender waist, which was straight and slender, and her 2 jade-like long thighs were full of explosive power. Corresponding to this is her strong ability to protect her beauty. He inherited the supreme power of the king of gods Zeus and gained the wisdom of his mother, the goddess of wisdom Metis. The combination of force and wisdom makes her the most shining goddess in the world of Greek mythology. Thinking of this, Qin Mu thought of several other main gods. In the original mythology, Athena emerged from the fire god Hephaestus's smash on Zeus' head. But at that time, several of the 12 main Greek gods already existed. But now, due to his interference and obstruction, those people no longer exist. For example, Ares, the god of war born from Hera and Zeus, and Hebe, the goddess of youth. These are still the more famous ones, and there are probably many more that are less famous. Zeus, the big stud, has sown seeds all over the world. If you stop him a little, many goddesses and fairies will be spared from being harassed by him. Looking at Zeus again, his head was shattered and his divine blood splattered everywhere. It was obvious that the damage he suffered reached its peak and he could not recover for a while. However, for gods, the death of the body does not mean true death, his soul is still active. After a short while, countless blue and purple thunder forces filled Zeus's body, and from a distance it looked like a sea of thunder. In the sea of thunder, a golden shadow emerged, which was the soul consciousness of Zeus. When Zeus saw Athena, he laughed from the bottom of his heart. It's good that it's not a boy. If it's a girl, there's no way she can overthrow my throne as the god king. In the world of Greek mythology, goddesses are not qualified to become kings of gods. This is an idea deeply rooted in the hearts of the gods. Thinking of this, he felt as if a huge mountain had been lifted off his heart, and felt that all the suffering he had endured before was worth it. Everything is for the throne of God, for that supreme position. As for the fact that Athena had the same divine power as himself, Zeus didn't care. Not only does he have great divine power, he also has the power to control the gods, and he has developed a thunder body that matches his own priesthood, which Athena cannot learn. In other words, Zeus still has the confidence to defeat his daughter Athena, who has the same divine power as himself, with overwhelming force. My dear daughter, I am so happy to see you. All the pain and suffering are worth it. But the attack from the gods just now has severely damaged my divine body. I need to rest and sleep for a while. As my daughter, you possess the divine power of wisdom. Please help me deal with all matters during this period of time. Amid the astonished gazes of the gods, Zeus turned around and looked at Prometheus, the god of foresight. Prometheus, wise and farsighted, I need you to go to the earth and create all kinds of creatures to make the world more prosperous. As he spoke, Zeus winked, and Prometheus immediately understood. The king of gods Zeus did not want the gods to know the wonderful uses of humans, so he did not directly say that he created humans. Dear God King, I will follow your will and create creatures that satisfy you, so that the earth will be full of vitality and prosperity. Seeing Prometheus reply, Zeus nodded. In my mind, I was thinking about creating new human beings and making them believe in themselves again. By then, with the blessing of human faith, his injuries will surely recover quickly, and it will be just a matter of time before his strength returns to the peak of the realm of gods above gods. After explaining everything, Zeus drove out the gods and fell into a deep sleep in this magnificent palace. When Zeus fell asleep, the gods were surprised to find that the endless thunder and lightning on Mount Olympus had also become dormant. This time, the joint attack of the gods and Athena not only broke his head, but also damaged his origin. He needed to go deep into the laws of the world's origin to recover. Qin Mu watched all this happen, but did not stop it or kill Zeus, he just watched quietly. On the other side, Poseidon, the god of the sea, watched all this happen with flickering eyes. When the gods dispersed, he quietly came to the palace of Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war. Dear Poseidon, god of the sea, what business have you come to me for? Athena looked at the uninvited guest and said calmly. Poor child, I was once swallowed by my father, Cronus. I know how uncomfortable it is to feel in such a dark, damp, and narrow place. Your father, my brother Zeus, also committed the same crime, a sin that has been passed down since the first generation of gods. Zeus is now in a deep sleep. This is the best time for us to seize his throne and punish him. Although you cannot become a god king, I can. If you are willing to help me, I can marry you and make you a queen of heaven with the same status as me. Poseidon had already made a plan, hoping to persuade Athena to overthrow Zeus and become the king of gods in charge of the sky. But Athena, as a goddess with the power of wisdom, was born with extraordinary intelligence and did not believe him easily. She also had no great interest in overthrowing Zeus and becoming the supreme and noble queen of heaven. So he said, My uncle, I am not very interested in overthrowing the rule of my father Zeus. This will only plunge the world into war and suffering again, and all living beings and gods will suffer as a result. Looking at Athena's compassionate look, Poseidon realized that his plan to win over Athena would never succeed. With a fake smile on his face, he said happily, "My dear niece, I didn't expect you to have such a broad mind. As your uncle, I feel very gratified. What I just said was because I was angry and remembered the evil deeds of my cruel and vicious father Cronus. You don't have to take it seriously." After saying this, Poseidon left Athena's palace. When he was about to leave Mount Olympus and return to his home deep in the sea, he couldn't help but take a look at the palace where Zeus was sleeping. What a great plan, but it's a pity that I can't pull it off on my own. He knew that if he missed this opportunity, it would be difficult to find another suitable opportunity to overthrow Zeus's position. Athena looked at Poseidon's departing back and fell into deep thought. As soon as she was born, she felt the intrigues among the gods. Chapter 110. On this vast and wild land, countless strange creatures live. Prometheus observed these strange creatures. He could only do as the king of gods Zeus said. How to get humans back on Earth depends on our performance this time. First, some creatures must be created to deceive the gods and make them let down their guard. Looking at the strange and absurd creatures on the earth that were formed naturally or created by the gods, Prometheus curled his lips in disdain. Some creatures are delicate and beautiful, some are ugly and stupid, and some are the descendants of the demon ancestor Typhon, who are cruel and murderous. In Prometheus's view, these creatures were so ridiculous and ugly that they were not worthy of living on the great earth. After thinking of the shape of the creature he wanted to create in his mind, Prometheus, the god of prophecy and foresight, found a piece of soil rich in spiritual energy. The earth is the body of the mother goddess Gaia, which has the ability to give birth to everything and is rich in magical energy, so he decided to use soil. When he was about to mold the clay into something, his brother Epimetheus, the god of hindsight, came over. "Hey my brother, look what I brought you," Epimetheus said mysteriously, with his hands behind his back. "My dear brother, do you have any surprise for me?" Prometheus looked at his brother who was so mysterious and immediately began to guess. This is indeed the case. Epimetheus placed his hands in front of him with his palms open, and countless golden balls of light appeared in his hands. These golden light balls are extremely mysterious, emitting the light of laws and revealing all kinds of wonderful properties. Strength, agility, speed, endurance, courage. Various different characteristics emanated from the golden ball of light, making people want to touch and absorb it. Prometheus' eyes lit up. He knew that this was a good thing, a blessing from the Titans to all living things. Although there is not much in front of him, only a little, it is enough for the creatures he created to be reborn and have the ability to survive on this earth. "Great, my brother, where did you get this?" Prometheus didn't believe that his brother had such great ability to receive so many blessings. In the minds of the gods, they all thought that their brother Epimetheus, the god of hindsight, was a fool. It's just because the job of the god of hindsight is to understand everything that has happened, and the abilities in this area are almost useless, ridiculous, and useless. Therefore, Epimetheus was excluded from the gods and lived wandering on the earth. This was sent by Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war. "I am here to help you create living beings and complete the mission of Zeus, the king of gods." After listening to this, Prometheus nodded. Athena is indeed a symbol of wisdom and is extremely intelligent. The gods were greedy for pleasure and would not come to help him selflessly. Only Epimetheus, his brother, would come to help him. Athena should have made this a request, asking the gods to give up some of their blessings and let Epimetheus bring it to her. "In that case, then you should stay with me. When I create living beings, you will put these blessings into their bodies from behind. Don't worry, I'll do as you say." After hearing his brother's words, Prometheus felt relieved and concentrated on making the clay figure. Qin Mu attached great importance to the creation of human beings and had been watching everything from the side. Watching all this happen, I felt a strange feeling, as if I was witnessing history. Human beings of this period have been recorded in books. But as each creature was molded, Qin Mu's expression gradually became strange and out of control. "Why does this thing look so much like Pikachu? Could it be a yellow-skinned rat?" Qin Mu advised himself in his heart not to think too much. But as Prometheus created more and more strange creatures, Qin Mu could no longer pretend to be ignorant. "What the hell, why are they all Pokemon?" He never imagined that Prometheus had played such a big joke on him. "But then I thought about it, I felt that this should be the fault of the player I released. Butterfly effect. Thinking that he was the culprit, he instantly felt able to accept it. These little guys are actually quite pretty to look at, and give people a very cute feeling. There was also the dead player, whose soul was still hidden by him. Qin Mu thought that with his current strength, he could easily resurrect him. Thinking of this, he clenched his hand, and a pale white human figure appeared in the palm of his hand. This is the soul of that player. Although his body has long been dead, his soul remains active under the protection of Qin Mu's divine power. With a light tap of the fingers, a force of creation surged into the soul and directly transformed into thousands of golden threads, densely connected together, like a silk ribbon. In a short while, his body was created, and it fits his soul perfectly, healthy and strong. After the creation, Qin Mu erased part of his memory and threw him into the underworld to continue working for him. The reason why he was not allowed to return to the real world was that his body in the real world had been cremated and his family thought he was completely dead. If a dead person were to stand in front of someone intact again, it would definitely cause a violent reaction. By that time, if approaching science doesn't shoot 10 episodes, there will be no way to explain it. Rather than letting him appear in the real world and become a controversial person, it is better for him to be free and at ease in this world of Greek mythology. On the other side, Prometheus was very familiar with the process and produced a large number of biological models in a short time. Epimetheus followed behind him, and every time he formed a new species, he would place a ball of light on it. Then, these creatures will be affected by the mysterious divine power and turn into real creatures with flesh and blood, able to walk and jump. Oh no, Prometheus! The gods' blessings have all been given out without me noticing. I guess I won't be able to bless the creatures behind me. At this time, Epimetheus said in a somewhat anxious tone. When Prometheus heard this, he hurried to check. As expected, he saw that his brother's hands were empty, without a single blessing left. Those golden light balls representing various abilities and talents have been integrated into the Pokémon's bodies. For a moment, Prometheus was also overwhelmed. He didn't expect that his idea of creating the human race last would result in humans being deprived of the talents and abilities of the gods. If this were the case, how could humans compete with the creatures they created and live comfortably on the Earth? Chapter 111. Prometheus sat on the earth, surrounded by countless strange creatures. There are Pikachu, Squirtle, Magikarp, Steelix, Flame Chicken. There is no human figure. Epimetheus felt very sorry when he saw Prometheus in deep thought. My brother, I am truly sorry that I have used up all the blessings from the gods because of my stupidity. Don't say that, Epimetheus. You are my closest brother. I am also to blame for this matter. I was too obsessed with creating the legendary creatures that the tree spirit told me about, and for a moment I forgot to control the number. Let me think of a way to find a new way out for the human race that has not yet been born. Prometheus sat under a big tree with lush branches and leaves, meditating quietly in his mind, with all kinds of thoughts floating in his mind. Epimetheus left here with a guilty conscience and came to Athena's palace. He knew how great the difficulties Prometheus was facing, and that among the gods, only Athena, who possessed the ministry of wisdom, had the ability to help him. Sure enough, he met the clever and wise Athena here. Respected Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war, I am very sorry. I made a mistake that should not have been made. I used up all the blessings of the gods, causing my brother Prometheus to encounter great difficulties when creating a creature. He is now preparing to create a special creature. Without innate abilities, it cannot compete with other creatures. I came here hoping to seek your help. After hearing this, Athena's beautiful eyes moved slightly and her pink lips opened slightly. Don't be alarmed, Epimetheus, the god of hindsight. I will use my wisdom to help Prometheus. Although Athena was born not long ago, she also knew the name of Prometheus, the god of prophecy and foresight. He has extraordinary vision, can foresee what is about to happen, is extremely wise, and is respected and feared by the gods. Even his father Zeus, with his help, saw through the weaknesses of the Titans and defeated a terrifying generation of Titans. Athena slowly walked out of the palace, flew away from Mount Olympus, and flew towards the earth. This was her first time to come to this vast and boundless land. There are countless ancient trees that block out the sun, lush and exotic plants, and from time to time, a few sparkling streams and rivers that look like silver dragons. The mountains and rivers are endless, winding, and magnificent, like a giant dragon crawling on the earth. Athena discovered that the earth was beautiful and rich, but it lacked vitality. It's not that there aren't any living things, but they are very rare, lack intelligence, and most of them can't communicate. Only then did she understand why her father Zeus asked Prometheus to create living beings to fill the gaps on the earth and make the earth prosperous and full of vitality. In a short while, she flew to the area where Prometheus created living things. This area has a strong aura of heaven and earth and is full of spirituality. It is a first-class treasure land. Even Athena, who has always lived on Mount Olympus, couldn't help but sigh that this place is really special. Creatures born from the soil of this place will surely be more spiritual and intelligent. If Qin Mu heard it, he would definitely smile. There are not many such places, but not few either. That is the place where Gaia, the mother goddess of the earth, and Uranus, the first king of gods, had their love at the beginning of the world. The most primitive and pure energy liquid from between heaven and earth has indescribable and mysterious power of creation. Qin Mu also collected a lot of them for a period of time and used them to cultivate various plants and fruits. However, due to the demise of the first god king Uranus, such good things never happened again. As time goes by, the dew from heaven and the milk from earth gradually loses its mystery and becomes ordinary. Only in a few remote and mysterious places, a trace of it still remains. The flawless white jade feet fell, and the slight sound of dead leaves breaking startled Prometheus, who was meditating. Prometheus slowly raised his head and looked in the direction of the sound. I saw a woman standing in front of me. She was wearing a purple dress, had a beautiful face and a heroic appearance. The woman was slim and stood straight, with deep and confident eyes, like a veteran female general who had just won a battle. Prometheus didn't expect Athena to come over, and was stunned, but he quickly reacted. "Welcome, the great goddess of wisdom and war, Athena." Athena nodded, then turned her beautiful eyes to look at the various strange-looking Pokémon on the earth. Although these Pokémon have strange appearances and embarrassing styles, most of them are extremely cute and are most popular with women. Athena, as a goddess, is no exception. Her eyes are full of curiosity and love. She casually picked up a Bulbasaur beside her and stroked its smooth skin with her delicate hands. "Great Prometheus, your wisdom shines like a brilliant meteor, and you can create such a strange creature. I dare to believe that these strange creatures will bring different colors to this world." When Prometheus heard this, he agreed with it and was very happy. "This was shown to me by a tree spirit back then. I didn't create it on my own. I just borrowed his inspiration and creativity." Talking sister, Prometheus thought of the banyan tree spirit who was full of lies and absurdity. "It is because of his company that I was able to grow up happily during the lonely years and learn a lot of knowledge and strategies." Athena was very surprised about the tree spirit he mentioned, but seeing that Prometheus was immersed in nostalgic memories, she did not interrupt him. It took a long time for Prometheus to return to reality from his distant memory. "I wonder if you are here for something." Prometheus raised his head and looked at Athena, who was standing there, and asked with some confusion. His brother Epimetheus did not tell him that he had asked Athena for help, so he was not aware of it. "It was your brother Epimetheus who told me that you were in trouble and hoped that I could help you with my wisdom." When Prometheus heard this, a golden light flashed in his eyes. Athena inherited the wisdom of her mother, the goddess of wisdom Métis, and possesses the ability to know all the knowledge and wisdom in the world. With her help, humans can stand proudly on the earth even without the blessing of the gods. Chapter 112. Thank you, Goddess Athena, for your help. After that, Prometheus didn't care about anything else and told her about his plan to create human beings. As the daughter of Zeus, the king of gods, and Métis, the goddess of wisdom, Athena naturally possesses unparalleled foresight. After listening to Prometheus's story, Athena deeply understood that human beings are a race with infinite potential and great talents. After humans are created, they will inevitably rule the earth and become the overlord of the earth. She was determined to help Prometheus and contribute to the creation of mankind. After Prometheus molded a large number of clay embryos out of clay, he gathered the good and evil of the animals on earth and put them into human embryos. When these two completely different emotions were put in, the clay figurine embryo seemed to come alive, lifelike, with lively expressions. When he finished all this, he looked up at the goddess Athena beside him. Athena smiled slightly, exhaled gently, and sent God's breath into these half-finished clay embryos. The breath of God has unparalleled magical wisdom and formed the original soul of mankind. At this point, the clay figurine embryo, with the breath of God and the emotions of good and evil, was completely formed and possessed its own wisdom. The divine breath from Athena possesses the knowledge and power that belong to Athena's priesthood. Humans appear weak when they are born, but as they grow older, their wisdom will emerge. When wisdom emerges, the destructive power in them will gradually manifest itself. This is Athena's ministry, wisdom, and war. This group of humans is more complex and more intelligent than the previous two groups. Human beings were born not long ago and their wisdom had not yet grown. The two gods taught humans knowledge and civilization on Earth and gave them shelter to build their homes. Gradually, humans mastered hunting, making food, weaving, building houses. Life became better day by day. In order to repay the gods for their help, humans built temples and performed sacrificial ceremonies to the gods. Of course, the main deity worshipped was Zeus, the king of gods, followed by Athena and Prometheus. Qin Mu quietly watched the birth of the third generation of humans. Humans during this period were already very close to humans in the real world, but they were still incomplete. The inability to reproduce and the ability to rely solely on the creation of gods is still a huge flaw and disadvantage. He is waiting for the right time, and when the time is right, he will spread the power of reproduction to the earth. From that time on, the creatures on earth would no longer be restricted by the gods and would have relative freedom. This is also the fundamental reason why he is working tirelessly to collect information on reproductive rights. It can only be created by gods and cannot reproduce on its own. It is like a castrated pig and has no potential at all. Zeus, who was sleeping, felt the long-lost power of faith, and the injuries in his body were healing rapidly. Not enough, not enough. I want more sacrifices and more faith. In the towering, exquisite, and magnificent palace, Zeus uttered the cry that belonged to the king of gods. The voice, carrying unparalleled divine power, pierced through the clouds, fell onto the earth, and reached the ears of Prometheus. At this time, Prometheus was in the human settlement, attending a bonfire dinner hosted by humans. Here people sing and dance, laugh and enjoy the beautiful atmosphere and joy. Hearing the cry of Zeus, the king of gods, Prometheus's face changed. Hearing the unquestionable and domineering tone in Zeus's words, he knew that in order to recover from his injuries, Zeus would definitely not care about the well-being of human beings. To Zeus, humans are just tools that can be made at will. When the master is in need, the tool will selflessly dedicate itself, giving away all its value for the master to enjoy. What's more, Zeus, the king of gods, has been severely injured and is in urgent need of recovery, so he will stop at nothing. After thinking for a long time, he still couldn't come up with a good solution. And humans, a newly born race, had to begin cumbersome and heavy sacrificial activities under the strong oppression of the god king. Each sacrificial activity consumes enormous amounts of manpower and material resources. Given today's human productivity, this is a huge burden that is simply unbearable. Originally, they could rely on the help of Prometheus to hunt enough game and collect a large amount of wild fruits and vegetables. But now, the most precious meat and food are taken for sacrifice and offered to the gods. They also understood that they had just been born and had no right or power to resist the gods, so they could only endure it silently. As time went on, food became increasingly scarce, and there were simply not enough precious supplies to offer sacrifice to the gods. For a while, the human race was in mourning and many people died of hunger and illness. Qin Mu, who were far away in the Emerald Plains, were watching from afar. He knew that everything would turn into its opposite when it reached its extreme point, and that human beings would either explode in silence or die in silence. I just don't know how far they will go. In the original myth, it was Prometheus who could not stand it anymore and deceived Zeus by fraud, which made Zeus extremely furious. Later, all the flames of mankind were taken back, and mankind returned to darkness. Next, Prometheus stole fire. After being caught, he was hung on the Caucasus Mountains, where his liver was pecked by an eagle every day. He was in great pain. But now with his intervention and the involvement of the players, the trajectory of the world has changed. Now that the god of fire Hephaestus is on his side, it is difficult for Zeus to take back all the fire on the earth. However, Qin Mu also knew that taking back the flame was only a means. As the king of gods, Zeus had hundreds of ways to punish the human race. As long as humans have no ability to fight back, they will not be able to escape Zeus' control. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but want to intervene and lay a backup plan in order to plant the seeds of free reproduction later. Thinking of this, he casually opened the game system panel and started his own operation. Next, it's time to assign new tasks to the players. Ding! A new era has begun, and humans have been reborn. Players who need to practice the basics of fighting spirit should go to the earth to learn the method of fighting spirit. Reward 1, Obtain a human body. Reward 2, priority access to another world. After editing the task, just tap and press send. Instantly, all tasks will be sent to the mailboxes of all players' game. Systems. Chapter 113. 666, you are here to exploit me again. Let me see what the 007 workers' task is. In the dark underworld, I've been mining and forging iron every day. I'm almost going crazy. I must return to the earth and never come back again. You need to practice the fighting spirit to get started. It doesn't just require hands. I will accept the task directly. Wow, the rewards below are so weird. What the hell are they? Can a human body change its race? I just said this is a game, there are other worlds to go to. Many players were talking about it. Some were laughing wildly, some were frowning, and some were very sad. Some meet the requirements and are about to leave this dark and hellish place. Some are confused and puzzled about the rewards. The range of game rewards was a bit wide, which caught them off guard. Some of them are simply unable to accept tasks because they have not cultivated the so-called fighting spirit. Not long after, those players who had accepted the mission and met the requirements were ready to go, and under the guidance of Qin Mu, they returned to the earth. Wow, this fresh air tastes sweet no matter how you breathe it. The sun, I finally see the sun again. Why does it seem to be smaller? Hey, the world seems to be different now. Am I hallucinating? Yes, I actually saw a Pikachu and a Seduct just now. It must be because I stayed in the underworld for too long and my spirit was oppressed, which caused hallucinations. Hearing what he said, another player next to him turned his head and looked at them strangely. I mean, if I say I saw it, would you believe me? Everyone looked at each other with shock in their eyes. A player raised his arms and spoke loudly. We were sent to the wrong world, and came to the world of Pokemon. No way, no way, the style of the painting is still the world of Greek mythology. Then where did these Pokemon with different styles come from? They can't have traveled through time, right? Who cares? This was my favorite when I was a kid. I want to catch one and keep it as a pet. After hearing his words, the other players' eyes lit up and they also became eager to take action. After a short while, there were only 3 or 2 players left, and the rest of the players all ran to catch these animals that looked like Pokemon. Aren't you going to catch them? No, no, raising pets is the most troublesome thing. Me too. Whatever I raise dies. I don't dare to raise any more. After a few minutes, many players returned to their original positions and continued to move forward. With their current level of evolution, these newly created little animals cannot escape from their grasp at all. I saw them each holding one, some even holding 2 or 3, and walking forward with their necks lifted. The system still marks the map route, and players continue to follow it. While walking, they also discovered some inconsistencies in this world. Pokemon should be the latest to be released into the world, or have just been created. The traces of their lives are very faint. After walking for a while, we finally arrived at a human gathering place. Their numbers were so large that they alarmed the humans among them. The human sitting by the fire turned around and looked at the players with curious eyes. The players also looked at this group of new humans and observed them carefully. Most of this batch of new humans are handsome, and occasionally there are a few ordinary ones, but they are also upper middle level. It has a calm and gentle temperament, innocent eyes, and does not look very aggressive. Compared with the previous group of humans, that group of humans with strange shapes and ferocious looks were obviously more pleasing to the eye. At this time, a human who looked somewhat prestigious stood up and walked towards the players. He seemed smarter than those simple humans, and there was doubt and vigilance in his eyes. Their bodies are also taller and more sturdy than those of humans, with strong and taut muscles, presenting a perfectly streamlined body. This is human territory. Where are you from and what are you doing? Thors held a spear and stared sharply at these guys in front of him who looked like humans but had strange skin color and some organs. Don't be nervous, new human being. We are here on the orders of the great gods to teach you the way of cultivation and help you escape from difficulties. Akun, a lively and basketball-loving boy, stepped forward and said. Look at our appearance, don't we look alike? We are also a branch of humans, called tree people. He felt that he had familiar experiences and processes with the humans in this world. Really? The gods sent you here, but the prophet Prometheus didn't tell us that. Could it be that the prophet Prometheus returned to Mount Olympus and prayed to Zeus, the king of gods, and his prayer was successful, so the gods sent people to help us. The human standing on the other side believed his words and couldn't help but speak. Thors, the human leader, was a little shaken after hearing this. He looked at the Pokemon in the player's hands, and his eyes lit up. I believe you are sent by the gods to help us. These animals should be sacrifices to the gods, right? As he spoke, he pointed his finger at the Pokemon held by the players. These humans have lived with these animals since birth, and make a living by hunting these Pokemon. From the beginning, I didn't have much feeling about their style of painting, as if animals were supposed to look like this. Akun, who loves playing basketball, looked upset. He didn't know why he would say such a thing. Doesn't he see that these Pokemon are our pets? Also, how can these cute little animals resist eating? Look, they're roasting it on the fire, said a sharp-eyed player, pointing at the fire with trembling fingers. Oh my god, Pikachu is on a skewer and grilled. That one looks like Ibrahimovic. And the one over there is Sakurabo. Looking at so many familiar Pokemon being roasted on the fire, emitting tempting aromas. Many Pokemon fans were trembling all over and almost fainted. Have you given them names? We call that one the yellow-skinned rat. It tastes good and is quite chewy. Would you like to come and have a taste? My barbecue skills are among the best in the tribe. Akun, who loves playing basketball, looked at the players behind him who were about to faint, and quickly waved his hand to refuse. No, I ate it when I came here. He knew clearly that if he dared to eat it, these fanatical Pokemon fans might be PD off to death. Chapter 114. After fooling the humans, the players gathered together and began to discuss. How can they eat Pokemon? Pokemon are so cute, how can they bear it? My poor Pokemon, being skinned and roasted on the fire, how pitiful, hiss. There's nothing we can do. Humans in this era don't know anything and can't do anything. They can only be eaten by animals. If they do this, countless cute Pokemon will be eaten by them every day. I won't allow it. A Pokemon fan shouted. His words attracted the support of several fans nearby. So what if you don't allow it? If they don't eat, they will starve to death. If they starve to death, who will do the mission for us? What should we do? Is there any big shot who can think of a solution? How about we use our own abilities to bloom and bear fruits for them to eat every day? Come on, if we produce fruits every day, it will consume so much energy that we won't be able to make ends meet. A group of players thought that the current human population is much larger than that of the previous era, so this method cannot be implemented at all. Akun, who loved playing basketball and had been silent, spoke up at this time. We all come from an agricultural civilization. Didn't the ancients grow crops? Let them do the same. This is a good idea. It allows them to be self-sufficient and reduce the killing of people. Then what should we ask them to do? Grow grains. It's not impossible. Among us plant-type players, there should be food-type players. A player seemed to have thought of something and spoke up. Wheat player, where is the wheat player? Barley player, where is barley player? Rice players, where are the rice players? Corn player, where is the corn player? Potato player, where are the potato players? After a short while, several players on the food and grass side were found among the thousands of players. What? Those are my millions of descendants. I don't agree. Me too, those are my seeds, I won't give them to you unless you pay me more. You just want us to keep the seed, I will do as you say, but you have to give me money. As the topic gradually went off track, the players discussed again and finally reached a consensus. The players of the food and grass department provided their seeds, and the Pokemon enthusiasts came together, contributed a small amount of supplies and money, and finally bought their good seeds. For a time, the players on the food and grass side began the task of constantly squeezing their own food and grass every day, so as to ensure that there were enough seeds for the human race to eat. Other players began to teach them new knowledge, such as farming and making food. Cultivate the various grain seeds brought by players, and teach them to sow in spring and harvest in autumn. However, because Qin Mu conquered Demeter, the goddess of fertility and agriculture, she indirectly did not lose her daughter, Persephone, the goddess of seeds. This also resulted in her not going mad in grief and anger, causing the world to be prosperous half of the time and withering the rest of the time. It is precisely because of this that grains can be harvested 2 to 3 times a year, ensuring that humans will not go hungry. Grain production is the process of using crops such as wheat and barley to process and make them into delicious food. There are many players with superb cooking skills and craftsmanship, so you don't have to be too good at hands-on work. Rice, steamed buns, noodles, bread, pancakes, fried dough sticks. As long as it is food that exists in the real world, it is basically copied exactly as it is. Since the ingredients here are all carefully cultivated by the power of Qin Mu, they are better than the original in terms of taste and variety. Those primitive humans who had been eating all kinds of greasy meat all day long, changed their food types after eating this soft and delicious food. Seeing these humans give up meat and start eating grains instead, most of the players showed relieved expressions. It's time to teach them the spirit of the fighting spirit. I hope they can be as smart as us. It's difficult. Among so many of us players, not every one of us can get started. A player said with some worry. Have you ever thought about one thing? They don't seem to have their own writing, and their cognitive level is not very high. A somewhat gentle player came over and said with a melancholy look in his eyes. I saw him with his head lowered, and his eyes seemed to have lost their luster. I just asked them about addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division within 10, and they don't know how to do it. What? We just taught them how to farm and forgot about this. Then shouldn't we teach them how to write? Not only that, think about it, the name of fighting gods Qi sounds like it comes from the West, but the abstruse knowledge in it is all written in classical Chinese. One player after another began to speak, and the more they spoke, the more uncertain they felt, and the more depressed they became. It's okay. There are so many of us here. If everyone teaches a part, we can always finish it. Kun, who loves playing basketball, encouraged. At this time, several other players also came over and cheered them on. People are like this. As long as they keep saying positive things, they will temporarily forget the negative information that is not in their favor. Not long after, with the efforts of many players, the first academy was born in this world of Greek mythology. Ivy League Culture College, the huge academy built with various giant plants, has different styles, with branches and vines intertwined like a dragon, full of natural and wild atmosphere. Mainly recruit new people and train new people about language, writing, mathematics, classical Chinese, Taoist thought. Many new humans were pulled into this academy and began to study. When these first new humans become trainees, the players take charge of their daily needs. They are provided with various kinds of food and clothing so that they have no worries about food and clothing and can just focus on their studies. The new humans were born not long ago, they have simple minds, and with the blessing of Athena, they are extremely intelligent and learn quickly. But as they studied more deeply, the vast knowledge poured into their minds, and they couldn't help but feel overwhelmed and wanted to run away. How could the players spare them? They tied them up with vines and began a strict teaching. Anyone who doesn't study hard or tries to escape will be hung up. Some even heard that the method to be practiced was called fighting God's Qi and thought it was blasphemy against God, and were unwilling to practice it. All these difficulties are placed in front of the players, leaving them at a loss as to how to solve them. After seeing the difficulties they encountered, Qin Mu thought about it and decided to lend a helping hand to them. With his ability, he can make it easy for people to enter the ranks of spiritual practice, and he can also plant the seeds of new life among this group of humans. Chapter 115. In the Ivy League College, there is a towering ancient tree that blocks out the sun, with countless vines and branches entwined around it that are as winding as snakes. Under the green vines, humans were tied up and wailing everywhere. No, don't let me study anymore, I want to go home, go home. You are devils, you are not sent by the gods, help me. I want to eat meat. I don't want to farm anymore. I want to eat delicious meat. Pa pa pa, the vines whipped the human who wanted to eat meat hard, trying to change his eating habits. It's so tragic. Why do we have to force them to change their diet? Just because the animals look good? It's really too much. A player passing by saw this tragic scene and couldn't help but say with disgust. He is actually a carnivorous player who occasionally eats meat and cannot live without meat in real life. Now this game has suddenly changed to one where you don't even get to eat meat, and even require others not to eat it. He finds it extremely twisted. I want to do something. For a moment, this thought came to his mind and became stronger with the sound of whipping. It wasn't long before he gathered a group of like-minded players, rescued the meat-loving humans, and left Ivy League. Not far away, another college, the Liberty Union College, was established. The purpose of this academy is not to restrict students' desires. It is their freedom to eat meat or not. The academy is also relatively relaxed about their studies and will not force them. However, there is an assessment system, and you have to pass all of them before you can leave the academy and return to the earth. This is also done to complete the task. However, the two academies began to become enemies because of this, and frictions of all sizes continued, and players began to fight fiercely. The originally somewhat peaceful gaming atmosphere was thus broken. The fighting spirit of the god of war is unleashed with infinite power during the battle between players. The bodies of these players were originally constructed with divine power, and it can be said that they are innate divine bodies. Each of them has the qualifications of a peerless genius. After practicing chi refining technique, their control over their own strength and use of the power of heaven and earth led to a huge increase in their strength, and they possessed powerful destructive power. This vast land is now very lively every day. The ruthless flames of war were raging and the fighting was spreading throughout this space. The Liberty Alliance Academy was in the minority and soon fell behind. However, they did not intend to surrender, but instead ordered batches of weapons from the underworld. Those were mined from underground by players with great effort and forged using the terrifying temperature of the river of fire. One of the players became a businessman in the game. He used various methods and money to attract a group of players and established a chamber of commerce here. This time, I bought a batch of iron weapons, including swords, guns, sticks, axes, knives and forks, from him. These specially crafted weapons were extremely powerful and sharp, and soon defeated the players from Ivy League. Not to be outdone, the Ivy League, with its companions who had the same aspirations and wishes, purchased a large number of weapons in the underworld and came to the ground after receiving the news. For a while, the two sides fought back and forth, and were incompatible with each other. This was the first time that the players had such a big dispute since the start of the game. Qin Mu was also watching with great interest. War was the catalyst for everything, and this was the result of his deliberate connivance. However, he did not forget his main business. He used the game to assist in the cultivation seeds he made, allowing players to freely receive them and give them to outstanding new humans. For a time, the new humans who were originally unable to enter the door, after obtaining the seeds of cultivation, all stepped into a wonderful realm. However, due to their awe of the gods, they are still unwilling to acknowledge this name. In desperation, the players changed the name of this practice method. The original fighting spirit was indeed not very good, a bit like fighting spirit, so in order to conform to the world view and taste, it was changed to the method of microcosmic cultivation. The practice method has become much simpler because of the practice seeds. Some wise players have also made modifications to the learning and training of practice to make it more suitable for new humans and make it easier for them to learn. Remember, the method of cultivating the microcosm is to cultivate one's own chi, comprehend one's own chi, and make oneself stronger. With the help of chi, one can gain strength and physique comparable to that of gods. With strength, you can catch more prey, plant more land, and obtain more food. Most importantly, defeat those who would like to take away our free will. Okay, now start to feel your own chi, the breathing rhythm that exists in everything. Touch it, accept it, and make it a part of yourself. In the Free Alliance Academy, a tall and serious-looking instructor stood with his hands behind his back, looking sternly at the new humans in front of him. From time to time, he would look at a few students who worked hard and were diligent and eager to learn. These people were the most likely to succeed in their practice. If they can cultivate a small universe, it means that this new theory and training method has no problem and can be implemented on a large scale. By then, with the help of these accomplished practitioners, their academy will no longer be defeated by the Ivy League Academy. The sun is shining high in the sky, and the scorching sun makes everyone under the sun sweat profusely, but they dare not relax at all. They knew that if they failed, the war between the Academy and the Ivy League would be lost, and they would return to a time when they could only eat fruits and grains. Fruits and grains are good, but not everyone can accept them, let alone eat them all the time and not allow meat. Meat was the original food of human beings. This is putting the cart before the horse and is extremely rebellious. For the right to eat meat, they work hard, just to be able to eat meat openly without being hung up and beaten as punishment. Ha ha ha, I seem to feel the energy. I have understood the method of cultivating the microcosm. I succeeded. A joyful voice came from one of the young men. At this moment, his legs were bent at 90 degrees, his back was straight, his whole body was wet with sweat, highlighting his sturdy and strong muscle curves. There was a hint of a smile on his cheek, and his whole body emitted a faint white light, which could not be seen unless you looked carefully. The instructor player's eyes lit up, and he quickly walked over and looked him up and down. When he felt the energy emanating from his body, he immediately confirmed that he was the first human to have cultivated, and he couldn't help but laugh out loud. Good, good, great. Chapter 116. The success of the first human practice indicated that the new method of practice was completely feasible. The Free Alliance College began to vigorously promote this new method of training and cultivation. New humans broke through one after another and embarked on the path of cultivation. After practicing, the new human beings stimulated the divine seed left by Qin Mu in their bodies, and nourished the divine seed within them with qi, allowing it to gradually grow. The divine seed will also constantly feed back, making the new human beings stronger, faster, and more agile. A year later, wars on Earth became more frequent, with flames raging and killing continuing. The battle between players and humans began. Many primitive races and ethnic groups were disturbed by the war, and most of them moved away due to the disturbance. The reason why wars become more and more fierce is that players have discovered that only wars, battles, and killings can make humans feel a sense of urgency and speed up their practice. As a result, the two sides went from being slightly restrained and just disliking each other to a large-scale gunfight. In this war, humans basically achieved the goal of everyone embarking on the path of cultivation. All of Qin Mu seeds were planted. Qin Mu also directly gave players who completed the task a chance to change their race. He bestowed a lake of clear water, and as long as the players walked into it, they would be transformed into the human race. Some players who changed their race to human began to apply to go to other worlds, and Qin Mu was about to pull them into the mountain and sea world. However, in the real world, the Korean country nearby has taken unusual actions and promoted its own country's myths and legends, and there are traces of people who are inheriting them. This discovery made Qin Mu a little curious. Does Korea have its own creation myth? It seems that previous legends were mostly borrowed from their own country. Everyone knows their racial talents. Taking advantage of the free time, a ray of spiritual consciousness turned into golden light and flew towards the Korean country not far away. The inheritor is also easy to find. Just search on the internet and a lot of news and information will come flooding in. A female fortune teller has become extremely popular and has caused a lot of sensation in Korea during this period of time. After Qin Mu determined the target, he followed the information he found online and came to her side. This witch is a middle-aged woman in her 30s. She is a little bloated and out of shape, but she exudes a strong positive energy that can dispel evil spirits. Qin Mu did not talk to her, but looked directly at the world passage above her head. In his perception, a somewhat absurdly weak world was looming in it, which made Qin Mu a little confused. This is how it is recorded in the Korean mythology that I found. Once upon a time, there was a god named Hwangyan in the world. He lived above the ninth heaven and possessed great divine power. One day, his son Hwangyan got bored of staying in heaven and wanted to go down to earth. After Hwangyan knew about this, he also agreed with his son's idea and decided to help him realize it. He looked down at the earth from the sky and chose Taebei Mountain, believing that the area had a good environment and abundant resources, making it suitable for establishing a country and governing the country. He gave his son Hwangseong 3 heavenly seals and 3,000 people, including the gods of wind, rain, and clouds, and started a new life near Taebei Mountain. Hwangseong came to the earth, established a sacred city, called himself King Hwangseong, governed the world's affairs, and the people lived and worked in peace and led a peaceful and happy life. There were many ferocious wild animals near Taebei Mountain. Among them, a bear and a tiger saw the humans led by Hwangseong living a very good life and they were envious. Unable to sleep at night, they tossed and turned, and ran to Hwangseong, crawling on the ground and begging him to turn them into humans. Hwangseong gave them 2 items, one was mugwort and the other was garlic. And they were told that as long as they ate this, they would not come out of the cave or see the sunlight for 100 days and they would then be transformed into human beings. After hearing this, the bear and the tiger were very excited. They followed his words and returned to the cave and started eating the 2 things. But after a long time, the tiger could not bear the torment any longer and left the cave, but the bear still persisted and waited patiently. Finally, his patient waiting paid off. The bear turned into a tall, plump, and beautiful woman with a charming appearance. She was also called the bear girl. After the bear girl turned into a woman, she was very happy. However, she found that no one was willing to marry her, so she became depressed and sad. So she prayed to Hwangseong again to give her a husband. When Hwangseong saw this, he thought it was a big deal, so he decided to do it himself. He immediately transformed himself into a human and married the bear girl. Soon after their marriage, the couple had a child named Dangan. Dangan succeeded to the throne smoothly, ruled the country for 1,500 years, and then retired to live in seclusion and became a mountain god. Qin Mu realized there was no danger, so he separated some of his strength and probed in. Before he stretched out his body, the whole world was already shaking, and the chains of the world's laws made clanking sounds. This frightened Qin Mu so much that he stopped immediately, fearing that he would break through this small world if he wasn't careful. Looking slightly downwards, a world with underdeveloped laws and simple principles came into view. If the world is compared to a computer, software is the rules of the world. There are laws in this world, but they are full of confusion and strangeness. It's the same as the program is not quite written correctly, but it still works. Qin Mu took a rough look and found that this world was almost the same as the Shanghai world, as if it was built from a game model. But one is a full version and the other is a pirated version. There are gods and humans, monsters and ghosts, which are basically the same as the settings of the mountain and sea realm, except that the upper limit and various aspects are more than a little different. In the end, he decided to let the players come to this world to test the waters. As long as the rules of this world are not changed and changed at will, this world will operate normally. Qin Mu put a mark on this witch and returned to the world of Greek mythology, where he began to prepare for the players to change the world. Ding! The trial of the other world begins. Players who want to go, please sign up as soon as possible. The number of places is tentatively set at 20. Just 20 people? There are too few of them, not even enough for players to fill their stomachs. Why are there only 20 places? That's too few. At least 500. I want to go too, but I wonder if it will be my turn. I've signed up, I'll definitely be on the list, may the game master bless me. Players signed up one after another, and Qin Mu randomly selected a group of players whose human bodies had been transformed, and they embarked on their first journey to other worlds. Chapter 117. As their consciousness spun, the first group of players successfully entered the Korean mythical world. Qin Mu is too powerful in this world, so powerful that he destroys the original laws of the world. Therefore, the world has no power to grant him status and authority. But he didn't care, the small world could not restrict his existence and behavior. With just a gentle blow, the bodies of 20 players were shaped, and even their clothes were put on to avoid exposure. Then, in the form of grey mist, the souls of these players were projected, and while their consciousness was blurred, they merged into new bodies. Ha ha ha, I got the spot. I'm the European Emperor. I'm the European Emperor. The new world is indeed different. I feel a different feeling from the world of Greek mythology. Why are there only mountains, as far as the eye can see? After 20 players came to this world, they looked at the blue sky and white clouds and the surrounding mountains and couldn't help but talk about it. The whole world, surrounded by mountains, is dotted with signs of human activity on the low plains and mountains in the distance. The players followed the scent of fireworks and headed west. Seeing how energetic and vibrant they were, Qin Mu assigned them tasks such as exploring the world and finding places where humans gathered. After doing all this, he withdrew his gaze and turned to the world of Greek mythology again. In the world of Greek mythology, the players who were not selected fought each other again out of various dissatisfactions, and the sounds of collisions continued. Since they were all immortal, they fought without any restraint. In a short time, blood flowed like a river, and there were mountains of corpses and a sea of gore, dyeing the earth red. The scarlet blood gathered together, emitting an incomparable smell of blood, and the air was filled with the breath of brutal killing. As the blood gathered more and more, it finally flowed through the cracks in the earth into the depths of the earth and entered the body of Gaia, the mother goddess of the earth. A terrifying force filled with tyranny, brutality, war, and killing began to gather on the earth, forming a new divine power. Qin Mu looked at all this and could only sigh that the gods were the embodiment of the laws of the world. Even if they were deliberately not allowed to be born, they would be born by some coincidence. At this time, the god of war Ares was conceived with the help of the body of Gaia, the mother goddess of the earth. Originally, he was supposed to be born to the king of gods Zeus and the queen of heaven Hera. However, due to Qin Mu's interference and interception, this famous god in later generations died in the womb and was never born. The reason why Qin Mu was unwilling to have children was that he did not want to be like the gods in Greek mythology and be unrestrained and have a lot of children. Second, this god of war Ares is actually not as strong as his name suggests. He is stupid and brainless. He is immersed in war all day long and enjoys the happiness that war brings. In mythology, he was often beaten by Athena, disliked by Zeus, and even cuckolded his brother, the god of fire Hephaestus. His war priesthood is different from Athena's. Athena represents the protection of justice, while he represents invasion, war, killing and plundering. Therefore he is not likable. Wherever he is, there are usually wars and battles. But now that Qin Mu and Hera are not born, the original laws of the world will also make him appear in a clever way, and he represents part of the laws of the world. Just as it is now, it is being conceived within Gaia, the mother goddess of the earth. Compared with the original myth, his status at this time is much higher. He has leapt up and become the uncle of Zeus. As soon as he was born, the world was shrouded in red light. Countless creatures were blinded by this strange power, and a feeling of killing emerged in their hearts. His appearance made the conflicts on earth more frequent and the killings endless. The blood-red light also alarmed Zeus, the king of gods, who was sleeping on Mount Olympus. At this moment, his eyes were closed and his brows were furrowed, as if he felt the unusual breath. What's going on? I feel a presence that makes my heart palpitate. Has there appeared on earth something that threatens my rule? Under stimulation, Zeus finally opened his eyes. His strength had not yet fully recovered at this time, but it had mostly recovered and he could barely move. He raised his head and looked at the place that made his heart palpitate, on the vast land. A tall and majestic figure, emitting a terrifying aura, stood on the battlefield above the earth. On the earth, smoke rose everywhere, debris was everywhere, blood flowed like a river, and many places were dyed red, which was truly shocking. Countless strange creatures were walking everywhere, and humans were divided into two forces fighting each other, which reminded him of the Titan War. This strange and unfamiliar atmosphere made him feel uncomfortable. How come so many things happened during the short time I was asleep? Prometheus, the god of prophecy and foresight, come to me at once. Zeus's majestic voice echoed outside the hall and reached the ears of Prometheus. Prometheus smiled bitterly, he knew it would be like this. His ability allows him to foresee everything in advance, similar to predicting the future. The summons from the God King was also included in his calculations. Great Zeus, the king of the sky, welcomes your awakening. The whole world will cheer for your awakening. Apart from the matter of humans, Prometheus is much more flexible in other general matters. No matter what, let's start by praising Zeus. Zeus' expression did not change when he heard his words of praise, and he still stared at him sternly. I saw your creations on the earth, which added a lot of vitality and color to the world. But as the most important human being, you let them kill each other wantonly, leaving the entire world in ruins. As he spoke, countless thunder and lightning appeared in the void behind the god King Zeus, illuminating the entire world in a blue and purple color. Great God King, it's not that I don't want to intervene, but I really have no other choice. I have tried my best to bring humanity back on track. Prometheus remembered that when the tree spirits came again, they insisted on teaching humans knowledge. At first he was afraid that they would tamper with human beliefs again, provoke a war between gods like the last time, and lead to the destruction of mankind again. But under their repeated assurances and earnest requests, he reluctantly agreed. If I had known earlier, there was a great and sacred being standing behind these tree spirits. Under his supervision, the tree spirits indeed imparted knowledge honestly and established schools. However, he was somewhat dissatisfied with the teaching methods and some of the content learned. What's even more outrageous is that these tree spirits actually came up with a practice method that can make humans stronger. Although it does not threaten the gods, it still attracts attention. In order to avoid being discovered and feared by other gods, at his request and with the firm belief of mankind, that arrogant name was changed to the microcosmic cultivation method. Chapter 118. But later, with the success of the practice and the infighting among the tree spirits, humans also fought each other. It was at this moment that Prometheus truly felt the chaos and wantonness of the fourth plague. They killed indiscriminately, picked up weapons made from the underworld to fight each other, and caused war. When he wanted to stop it, it was too late. Humans were influenced by the tree spirits and became aggressive and would fight at the slightest disagreement. He also wanted to seek help from the goddess Athena, but when she discovered that Hades, the god of the underworld, was collecting souls indiscriminately, she was dissatisfied with his behavior and confronted him. Poseidon, the god of the sea, was also watching from the side, waiting for his chance to strike. He found that everything was out of his control and was heading towards an unknown realm. Human beings matured and grew rapidly in the war. Prometheus felt that the benefits outweighed the disadvantages, so he ignored it. Who would have known that because of letting go, the world would fall into chaos and a new god, the god of war Ares, would be born. This god was directly born from Gaia, the mother goddess of the earth. He has a very high status and great power. No ordinary god can defeat him. Zeus scolded Prometheus, but realized that it was of no avail, so he decided to go down to earth to take a look. Number above the earth, ancient trees are towering, tree shadows are swaying, and several crisscrossing paths lead to the distance. Zeus stood on the earth, looking at the humans wearing armor and holding sharp blades not far away. These humans are tall and ferocious, with muscular bodies and extremely strong strength. Their snow-white teeth gleam in the sunlight, making them look like terrifying giant beasts on earth. Zeus thought of the previous batch of humans. At that time, humans were ugly and stupid, but their body shapes were like those of gods. I don't know whether Prometheus created humans into such strange appearances when he created them, or whether they became like this after practicing the microcosmic method he mentioned. As a result, his face looked like that of a god, his body was bloated and burly, and he walked on the earth like a muscular monster. This brings us to the differences between human races. When Prometheus created humans, he had no concept of Danshan and meridians, so he did not add them during creation. This resulted in a large amount of chi accumulating in the flesh and blood of later humans when they were practicing the microcosm, causing their muscles to swell rapidly, making them like little giants. "Hey, little brother over there, do you want to team up with us?" A tall human with long brown hair, a broad waist and a fat body shouted at him. Zeus was stunned when he heard the call. "Little brother? Are you very small?" Looking at the many giant humans around him, he thought that his body was a little small now. Zeus had no idea what the team was for, but he agreed anyway. He wanted to blend in with humans, hide himself, and find out whether humans feared the gods. "This is your first time at the Qin Mountains battlefield?" Zeus, who was looking around, paused and nodded after hearing this. "Yes, this is my first time here. This place is very different from other places. This so-called battlefield also hides an extremely prosperous and bustling street, with people coming and going and constant exclamations. Not only humans, but also some other races were coming and going on the streets, such as centaurs, snake women, tree spirits, nymphs, and so on. These races gathered together harmoniously, without any hostility or tension. He saw several hostile and predatory races among them, but they acted as if they didn't see them and just walked straight past them. The man with brown hair laughed loudly, looking at the street ahead, and said with some pride, "This is not to mention the special nature of our Qin Mountain battlefield. This place is formed by a peace-loving chamber of commerce. Fighting is not allowed in this commercial street. If you want to fight, just go to the battlefield nearby and have a good fight. Let's go check in on the battlefield first, and then enjoy it after it's over." Zeus listened with a confused look on his face. His wisdom allowed him to easily understand what the person in front of him said, but when he put them together and thought about them again, he couldn't understand any of it. But he followed anyway. If the person in front of him lied to him, Zeus had already made up his mind that if the time came, he would use the power of thunder to inflict endless pain and torture on him. "Not bad, you can actually keep up with my speed." The brown-haired man looked at Zeus strangely, marveling at his agility. What he strengthened was his legs, and ordinary humans can't match his running speed. Zeus didn't say anything, but his eyes were solemn and serious. He found that when the brown-haired man was sprinting, the strength in his body was transferred downwards, and most of it was gathered in his legs, making him run flexibly and quickly. Is this the microcosm of human cultivation? It is truly miraculous. Zeus thought of the tree spirit that had been passed down, and the god of plants behind the tree spirit, and his heart sank. Every time the god of plants attacked, he would catch him off guard, making him feel like the god of plants was targeting him. This time he took action to teach humans the method of cultivation, but no one knew what he was trying to do. He followed the brown-haired man all the way from the flowery streets to the mountains not far away. Standing on the top of the mountain and looking into the distance, the mountain tops are heavy and shrouded in clouds and mist, like a fairyland on earth. The top of the mountain is already full of people, and the neighboring mountain is also crowded with people standing there. As a familiar march sounded, the humans on the hilltops of both sides bravely rushed forward and fought together. This scene aroused Zeus's murderous intent, and he couldn't help but pick up the weapon in his hand and prepared to start fighting. Kill, kill, kill. Faster than him were the muscular men beside him. Wearing simple armor and holding sticks, they rushed forward and each found his opponent. But in Zeus' eyes, the scene seemed a little weird. These muscular men were waving their weapons, and they were following the same pattern: you hit me, I block, I hit back, you block again. None of them were using their full strength, and there was no momentum for fighting. Fake? This idea suddenly occurred to Zeus. He thought of what the brown-haired man had mentioned about punching in. Could this be it? Hey, let's fight. At this time, a burly man rushed over and talked to him with a wink. Zeus just thought it was absurd that he, a great king of gods, did not spread his glory to the whole world, but instead had a fake fight with a group of humans here. Thinking this in his mind, he held the big sword in his hand and started fighting with the big man opposite him with a sword and a knife. The steps were fast, and when he got tired, he could stop and rest aside. Zeus was a god with endless energy and a vibrant body, and he consumed the physical strength of several people in a row. Perhaps he realized that he was a little eye-catching, so he pretended to be exhausted, put the sword on his shoulder and went aside to rest. Are you not used to the fighting here? The brown-haired man asked when he saw Zeus sitting down to rest. It's okay, I just feel a little weird. Zeus frowned slightly and said strangely. This was not the case when he looked down at the earth from the sacred and lofty Mount Olympus. The brutality of the war and the horror of the slaughter of living creatures indirectly gave birth to a terrifying and bloodthirsty god of war that exuded an endless aura of war. Chapter 119. It's fine for us mortals to fight. As long as it doesn't involve a fight between God's messengers, we can just deal with it. God's messenger? Deal with it. Zeus still didn't understand what he meant. No one knew when the messenger of God appeared in the mortal world, and no one knew which god sent the messenger. Hey, look, those are the ones over there. The brown-haired man looked at the battlefield, turned around, and said with his eyes shining. When these gods fight, they don't care about life or death and are extremely brutal. Ordinary people don't dare to get close to their fighting range. After hearing this, Zeus turned around and looked. Not far away, there was a group of humans with more normal body shapes than muscular humans. They were also wearing exquisite and gorgeous armor, holding swords and swinging them vigorously, fighting as if they were mortal enemies with the humans on the opposite side. The madness of fighting bravely and giving it all made Zeus look sideways. Zeus looked them up and down, his eyes flashing with a light golden light. The divine light penetrated through the bodies of these humans, but he looked left and right, but could not see that they carried the aura of the gods on the sacred mountain. Could it be a fake messenger of God? This thought popped into Zeus' mind. But when he looked closely and compared it with the human next to him, he noticed the difference. The bodies of this group of so-called God's messengers are different from those of other humans. Upon closer inspection, they appear to be more complex and advanced. This special feeling immediately reminded him of the god of plants. Only he could create such delicate and complex things. It's not impossible for other gods to have this possibility, it's just that the possibility is extremely small. They are born as gods, immortal, and possess infinite power, so their style of doing things is unrestrained, simple, and rough. These humans without explosive muscles have lines in their bodies that extend like tree branches, allowing the energy in the body to flow regularly through these lines and eventually enter the middle of the abdomen. This wonderful design allows the power to be more concentrated without changing the body shape too much. To be honest, I was surprised for a while when I saw they started out as tree people and then turned into humans. The brown man smacked his lips with a strange expression on his face. What, you said they were tree people before? Aren't those tree spirits? Zeus was a little shocked and looked at them in disbelief. At this time, he did not know that Qin Mu's plant priesthood was a thing of the past and had now evolved into the priesthood of creation. However, as a god king, with some wisdom, he instinctively realized that Qin Mu had undergone new changes that he was unaware of. After the battle, Zeus and the others returned to the bustling and lively neighborhood. On both sides of the street are houses and shops built with stones and green vines. He followed the brown-haired man into the tavern. This was the first time he had seen such a lively place outside of Mount Olympus. The people passing by were all ordinary creatures, enthusiastic and cheerful, generous and proud, with happy smiles on their faces. This was a sight he had never seen before. In his impression, these lowly creatures would prostrate themselves on the ground and kneel devoutly when they saw him. The lively and festive atmosphere infected Zeus, and he couldn't help but join in, drinking wine and singing. But he always had a weird feeling, and he couldn't put it into words. It was not until late at night, when the pub closed, that everyone left and the room fell into silence. Only then did Zeus realize why he felt awkward. There are no women, or rather, these humans have no gender. This made him feel strange. If he were on Mount Olympus, he would have already found beautiful goddesses or fairies, flirted with them, and had in-depth conversations with them in remote gardens. But here, there is no gender. The big and strong men with muscles make the testosterone levels of the humans appear to be skyrocketing. Here, he only felt pure friendship. On the other side, in the Korean mythological world, 20 players came to the human settlement. They were surprised to find that the people here spoke Chinese, wore Chinese costumes, and ate kimchi and radish soup with pickles. Ashaba, why does it look so much like ancient Korea? A player who came into contact with the indigenous humans complained helplessly. There are so many flaws in this world that he doesn't know what to say. Compared to the world of Greek mythology, this world has a rural feel. In the world of Greek mythology, various gods who govern the laws emerge one after another. They are powerful and invincible in their own fields. Below the gods, there are many races. Although they are not as powerful as the gods, they also have corresponding abilities. For example, dragons, fairies, etc., some have strong physiques, and some are gifted and can breathe fire and water. But in this world, everything they see and hear does not arouse much interest for them. Some of those who have the means and can display extraordinary abilities are mostly witches and wizards hidden among the crowd. Their methods and abilities can shock ordinary people, but they cannot scare the players. In order to complete their mission, they inquired everywhere about the whereabouts of these witches and wizards. At the flower street of Xiaoliu Lane. "Grandma, please save me." A man with a wretched face and a thin body, wearing a grey robe and a bamboo hat, knelt on the ground and begged. In front of him was an old woman with white hair and an aged face. She wore a white skirt with a crimson belt tied in the middle, which made her look dignified and simple. The old woman is very famous in this area. She is a famous witch who can use various witchcraft, obituaries, prophecies, and other abilities. She can even communicate with gods and pray. "Alas, I am old now and can't help you. You should go find someone else." The old woman sighed. She is old and does not have the energy to subdue demons. "The man in front of me moved to a nearby haunted house 3 days ago. Hidden in that haunted house was a female ghost who was brutally hurt by her husband. She died unjustly, and her resentment grew deeper and deeper. The man was nearly killed by a female ghost last night, but luckily escaped with his life. He was terrified and ran to ask for help." The old woman was about to say something else when the door suddenly creaked open and a burly man walked in from outside. The person who came was one of the players, named Wubian Luomuxiaoxiaxia. The players discovered that this world was not very dangerous, and after cultivating the spirit of the god of war, they could overcome most dangers, so they started to act alone. The same is true under the rustling of endless falling leaves. A person came here, this popular gathering place, Hwaja. After casually asking people on the street, he learned the identity of the old woman as a fortune teller. He rushed to her house and saw this scene. "Hello, I came here because of your reputation. I hope to buy the cultivation methods and ancient historical materials from the old lady." Under the rustling sound of the endless falling leaves, she glanced at the man kneeling beside her and spoke directly. Chapter 120. The Method of Cultivation. Historical Legend. The old woman had lived her entire life, but she had never been able to survive such a request. She thought that this was a ruffian from somewhere who wanted to learn witchcraft from her, so she prepared to drive him away. Just as she was about to speak, she suddenly realized that the person in front of her seemed extraordinary, not an ordinary person. So he used his spiritual sense, concentrated his spiritual power in his eyes, and looked towards the player. His eyes were shrouded in a scarlet light, with mountains of corpses and seas of blood, and debris everywhere. It was the concrete embodiment of endless war and endless killing. The old woman's eyelids twitched, and her heart was filled with great fear. The illusion just now was false, but she also understood that those scenes were also real. Her spiritual perception is higher than that of ordinary people, and she can see many things that ordinary people cannot see, such as the aura on people. Qi is the power that flows within all things. Qi exists in all things, and humans are no exception. There is Qi surrounding the body, enveloping the entire body, forming an aura. A person's aura represents his or her words and deeds, and is a concrete manifestation of what he or she does in daily life. The glance just now seemed to have plunged her into an endless world of killing. She didn't know how many people the person in front of her had killed. However, compared to the evil people with a murderous nature that he had seen before, his murderous intent was not even 1,000th as strong as his. In addition, she also felt a powerful energy fluctuation in his body, which was even far more than what she had accumulated over the past 70 years. Kill the evil demon and leave my home quickly. The old woman's face was excited. She held a bell in her left hand and a palm leaf fan in her right hand, and began to chant. She was seen chanting spells rapidly, and the bells were emitting tinkling sounds. The sound waves generated had the ability to shake people's souls. The cattail leaf fan was waving rapidly in his hand, gathering waves of positive energy that blew towards the endless falling leaves. Looking at the strange behavior of the old woman in front of me under the rustling sound of endless falling leaves, I was a little confused for a moment. He just felt that the wind she fanned was a little hot, but it was nothing to him. The ringing bells were so loud that it made me want to smash the wall. But these minor side effects had no effect at all on his battle-hardened soul. To show his sincerity, he patiently listened to the old woman ringing the bell and fanning herself. The middle-aged man on the other side was stunned for a moment as he watched this childish behavior. He didn't care that he was still cursed by a female ghost and tried hard to be a spectator. After 7 or 8 minutes, the old woman was sweating all over. Seeing that her witchcraft still had no effect on the devil in front of her, she became discouraged. Am I going to die here today? The old woman recalled that she had followed her master to learn witchcraft at the age of 13, to worship spirits, to communicate with spirits, to gain powers, to exorcise demons and eliminate disasters in villages and towns. Old lady, is this possible? The price is negotiable. Under the rustling sound of falling leaves, he watched the old lady performing non-stop, as if she was going to have a seizure at any moment, and asked with a frown. He didn't want to be blackmailed by this old woman. The middle-aged man who was waiting on the side also recalled his situation at this time and hurriedly followed suit. Grandma, please help me, the female ghost is coming. Hey, you have no eyesight. Can't you see that I am subduing the devil? The old woman said somewhat dissatisfiedly after listening to the man's urging. However, at this moment, her body was unable to support herself and was shaking. She held on to the table with one hand to prevent herself from falling to the ground, and with the other hand she took back the ritual implement. She raised her eyes again and looked at the endless falling leaves. This time, she was less afraid, because she found that this person really seemed to have no intention of killing. He boldly asked in an old voice, "You are so powerful, you must have a more profound way of cultivation. Why do you want to plot against my method of cultivation?" These words made Wu Bian feel a little confused. When did I find a way to practice cultivation? Suddenly I remembered the fighting god method, that martial art with a lot of classical Chinese texts. Can you feel my practice? As he spoke, Wu Bian Luoye rustled, he gathered energy in his palms, clenched his palms into fists, and the energy suddenly burst out, hitting somewhere in the void. He had long felt that there was an invisible, eerie feeling of surveillance in this house. Ah! A shrill and vicious voice sounded, making the people around feel inexplicably frightened and chilled to the bone. Ghost, female ghost, she's coming. The middle-aged man next to him heard the voice and stood up excitedly. It was this female ghost who tried to kill him time and time again. It was clearly not his fault, but she wanted him to take the consequences. He didn't understand why this female ghost didn't go find the husband who killed him, but instead haunted him. You dare to break into my Taoist temple? You are really looking for death. The old woman also noticed the trace of the female ghost at the first moment, and immediately picked up the magic weapon to destroy the female ghost. But the spell she cast just now had consumed a large amount of her magic power, and now it was even difficult for her to activate her magic weapon. There are wolves in front and tigers behind. Is this really the day I'm going to die? Under the rustling of endless falling leaves, his eyes fixed, and boundless murderous intent was revealed in his pupils. This was the reaction ability he gained from countless bloody battles with other players. He moved and came to the shadow of the female ghost, and grabbed it with his 5 fingers like eagle claws. The eagle claws are filled with the spirit of the god of war, making them indestructible. Even ghosts will be torn into pieces by this spirit. Hate, hate, hate. The female ghost's body was torn apart and she let out shrill screams and howls, making people's ears ring. The separated bodies emitted black air and slowly gathered together in the void, as if they were about to come together again. Die for me. As he spoke, countless phantom fists flew towards the void, and for a moment the space was shaking as if someone was beating a drum. As 100 punches were thrown in 1 second, the ghost girl's shadow disappeared into the void, and the cold and gloomy air in the air also disappeared. Hey, it's pretty hard to kill. Under the rustling sound of endless falling leaves, he slowly put away his fist and took a deep breath. There are very few people in this world who can perform a combination of punches on him, so this female ghost is already a good one. However, after receiving 58 punches from him, it had disappeared into thin air. My benefactor, please accept my greeting. When the middle-aged man saw the female ghost disappear, he immediately realized that the man in front of him was more powerful than the old woman, and immediately knelt down beside him. Under the rustling sound of endless falling leaves, I felt a little uncomfortable watching the middle-aged man's exaggerated behavior. This was the first time someone kowtowed to him. Chapter 121. Benefactor, are you Zhen Shanjun, the man who killed a Nanling tiger with his bare hands? The middle-aged man leaned his head and asked cautiously. Mountain Guardian? It seems he has such a title. As the endless falling leaves rustled, he recalled that in order to gain wealth in this world, he once killed a 10-meter-long spotted tiger in the wild. The tiger was tall and ferocious, with eyes as lively as a real person. He put in some effort and beat it to death with every punch. When it was brought to the town, it attracted the attention of many people, and they called the tiger Shanjun. For the person who killed the tiger and lifted the tiger up with one hand, he was given a series of titles such as Tiger Killing Hero and Mountain Guardian. Oh, hero, great hero, I didn't expect it was really you. Even the cold and evil female ghost was defeated in your hands. The middle-aged man lay on the ground, raised his head and looked at him, his eyes full of light. It was a look of admiration and also a longing to see an idol. What, you are the man who beat the mountain ghost to death? He is the mountain god. The old lady at the side was shocked. Before she could get over the fact that he easily beat the female ghost to death, she was shocked by another bombshell news. You know, tigers have been around in this area for a long time, and it is said that they have survived for thousands of years. A witch like her is no match for the mountain king. Perhaps only King Huaneng, who is far away in Dadu, and several gods under his command can subdue it. But thinking about it again, the man in front of him was brave and valiant, not like an ordinary person but more like a killing god, so it didn't seem surprising that he killed a tiger. What she didn't know was that there were 19 more such beings. The other 19 players also used all kinds of tricks and used whatever means necessary to complete the task. In this basically danger-free world, they can be said to be making their way all the way. Some recruited soldiers and gathered crowds to cause trouble, some acted recklessly and robbed the property of the rich, and some even directly seized power and became addicted to it. When Jin Huijin came to her own mythological world, she found that the world had become a mess. Suddenly, many powerful people with strange abilities appeared in this world. Their unscrupulous behavior caused the original order to collapse. The homes of many corrupt officials and wealthy businessmen were robbed, and they turned around and asked hidden masters to subdue them. Oh my god, what's going on? Jin Huijin, who was dressed as a fortune teller, was invited to subdue the demon. When she saw the player who was wreaking havoc, speaking authentic Chinese and wearing modern clothes, she suddenly collapsed. Shouldn't I be the only one born into this world? Where are these guys from? They seem to be from the neighboring country. Stealing things from other countries should be our country's skill. Could it be that someone has learned it? While she was in a mess, players had already posted all the information they saw and heard in this world on the game forum. Local conditions and customs, habits and practices, furnishings, clothing combinations, myths and legends. 666, this is the Korean mythological world. The sharp-eyed players could see at a glance that this world has similarities with the Korean legend next to it. The story of the so-called Hwanung, the bear woman, and the birth of a being named Dangan, as well as various ghosts and so on. Yes, rob the rich to help the poor and promote traditional culture. This world is so interesting. I want to go there too. When will the quota be opened? Even Korean mythology has come out, so other mythological worlds should also have it. Qin Mu looked at the many players discussing the game on the forum and laughed. There are other mythological worlds, but you need to spend your own means to find them. He has already felt that the real world is changing faster and faster, and the concentration of spiritual energy is increasing with the passage of time. A terrifying darkness enveloped the real space and time, and a sense of crisis that came from nowhere was brewing in his heart. He realized that there really was a so-called danger approaching. He just needs to wait, and when the crisis breaks out, those who inherit the legacy will show up one by one. At that time, he will be able to lock onto the person who will inherit the inheritance and enter a new mythological world. On the other hand, Zeus was constantly observing the changes in the world in every corner of the world. He discovered that after the human race was created and the tree spirits transformed into humans, the world seemed to be renewed under their impetus. Even gods would be amazed by this change. What made him even more anxious was that human beings' belief in gods was not as strong as he imagined. This generation of humans still maintains their belief in gods, but it has become somewhat distorted due to the influence of the players. The temples of the gods were tall, magnificent, and majestic, but the sacrifices were a little special, that is, the heads of the enemies. During the battle, he had seen his believers holding swords in their hands, shouting the name of their god loudly, and slashing at the enemy fiercely. Zeus still could not forget the look of him devoutly hacking and killing the enemies. He could feel that his believers had faith in him and were sincere in their faith. But under the gaze of his divine eyes, overlooking from a higher dimension, the murderous aura, evil aura, and death aura brought by the fighting were even more intense. It can be said that most of the benefits of these battles went to the new god, the god of war Ares, a small part went to Hades, the god of the underworld, and an even smaller part went to Zeus, the king of gods. How could Zeus tolerate such a loss-making behavior? He immediately decided to destroy this warlike human race again. However, there are some huge obstacles that he needs to find a way to deal with. First, there is the god of plants, the original lord of the grey mist, an ancient god who has intervened in many major world events throughout the ages. The last time he intervened in the human race was because he had a dispute with him, so he directly destroyed the human race's faith. Although he did not change the beliefs of the human race of this era, he converted some of his relatives into humans. Zeus didn't understand what he meant by doing this or what the deeper meaning was, but he still listed him as his number one enemy. Another enemy is the god of war Ares, a god born from the earth mother goddess Gaia who absorbed the murderous aura from the earth. As a god born from Gaia, the mother goddess of the earth, he can be regarded as a second-generation titan, the uncle of Zeus, and his divine duty has a terrifying attack power that does not belong to Zeus. He is a god born in response to mankind's killing wars, and has a bloodthirsty and murderous nature. The endless wars of mankind are part of his divine domain, which will continuously enhance his divine power. If you want to deal with humans, you have to deal with at least these two mountains. Chapter 122. If there was only one god, Ares, the god of war, Zeus would be confident that he could defeat him. But there is still a possibility that he will have to face the god of plants, so Zeus will have to use his brain. Fortunately, he devoured the goddess of wisdom Metis and was blessed with wisdom, and a flash of inspiration appeared in his mind. He decided to find his brother Poseidon, the god of the sea, to fight against and destroy mankind together with him. You have to know that when humanity in the last period perished, it was he and himself who worked together to destroy humanity. Thinking of this, he no longer hid his body, turned into a flash of lightning, and flew towards the depths of the endless sea. In the endless sea, the light blue water ripples, and under the reflection of the sun, it looks like crystal clear sapphire, with ripples everywhere. Countless colorful fish in the water are like lively elves, diving freely in the sea, cheering and jumping. The thunder and lightning transformed by Zeus passed through the sea surface, leaving a deep concave gully. As the sea water on both sides collapsed to the middle, waves appeared again. After a while, Zeus came to an ocean that was glowing with golden light. In the sea, countless black figures flashed by, and their delicate and slippery tentacles swayed with the waves of the sea, as if some huge monster was guarding this place. Those numerous black figures were all sea monsters and demons gathered by the sea god Poseidon, and some were his offspring. In the world of Greek mythology, gods not only give birth to gods, but also give birth to some strange creatures. Some of Poseidon's children are like this, with scales and tentacles, fish bodies, etc. Zeus, who masters the power of thunder and possesses powerful divine power, doesn't care about the sea monster in front of him at all. His blue and purple lightning body rushes directly into the depths of the sea. Soon after, they arrived at the depths of the sea, in the palace of Poseidon, the god of the sea. A huge palace with golden and brilliant lights came into Zeus' eyes. This magnificent palace, sparkling with golden light and inhumanly luxurious, also made Zeus stunned. It was his first time to come to the palace of Poseidon, the god of the sea. He did not expect that his palace was so luxurious. In his imagination, only his Mount Olympus was the most magnificent and noble place. The palace of Poseidon in front of us looks no worse than the palace of Mount Olympus. Fist-sized, crystal-clear luminous pearls are everywhere, illuminating the entire ocean with sparkling light. On the seabed, corals are neatly arranged all over. There are also countless fish swimming in unison, forming a beautiful landscape here. Hey, my brother, the honorable sky god Zeus, welcome to my territory. The palace gate slowly opened, and a tall and burly middle-aged man with long blue hair and a trident in his hand walked out. This person is Poseidon, the god of the sea, the king of gods who rules the sea. At this moment, he saw Zeus was shocked by the scene under the sea, as if he had eaten sweet honey, and he couldn't help feeling happy. He had coveted Mount Olympus for a long time, but unfortunately, Zeus stood in his way and he could not get it. He could only set his sights on his own sea and vowed to build a magnificent palace of his own. However, he only knew how to enjoy life and didn't understand design. He also didn't have many smart sea monsters under his command, so the castle was never built. Until later, when he was destroying mankind, he met a tree spirit. He discovered that this follower of the god of plants would do things as long as he received benefits. After promising him some rewards, the tree spirit did not disappoint him and designed a magnificent palace for him in the underwater world. In the years that followed, he invited many goddesses and fairies to visit his palace. Basically, as long as they saw his magnificent and exquisite palace, they would stay and have in-depth communication with him. I didn't expect that there would be such a magnificent and beautiful building in the dark seabed. Zeus came back to his senses and said with some admiration. But his eyes narrowed slightly, as if he had already figured out who built the building. Only those strange followers of the plant god could have such amazing imagination. There are also many tree spirits in his Mount Olympus, who do certain jobs in order to spy on the beautiful goddess and gain certain benefits. There was once a tree spirit who wanted to transform Mount Olympus for him, but he refused because he did not want to hand over everything to the tree spirit. You know, the tree spirit is controlled by the god of plants. No matter how careless he is, he will not give in on this issue. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but admire his brother Poseidon. However, he still remembered the reason why he came here, and said with a serious face. My brother, I hope you can help me destroy the human race on Earth. This generation of humans has obtained the cultivation method of the god of plants. Their hearts are as hard as stone. They only want to start wars and kill each other, making the earth flow with blood. Their presence led to the birth of the evil god of war Ares, and this should not be allowed. Zeus, with a stern expression, told his brothers everything he had seen and heard on Earth, hoping to persuade them to support him. After hearing this, Poseidon said with a faint smile on his face without changing his expression. My brother, you think too much. Although humans kill each other, they still believe in the gods. Countless temples of the gods stand on the earth. Poseidon spoke in a calm tone, as if he had already let go of the matter. Are you talking about your temple? Zeus looked at his brother Poseidon with a strange expression. Thump thump thump. A burst of hurried footsteps approached this place. The person coming was very tall, and the vibrations caused by his footsteps made the earth and the sea tremble continuously. Great Poseidon, the god of the sea, those hateful humans overthrew your temple, built countless ships, and launched them into the ocean. An ugly monster with scales like a lizard walked in. As soon as he came in, he started shouting and complaining to Poseidon, the god of the sea, about the evil of mankind. This is the offspring of Poseidon, the god of the sea, and a fairy from the ocean. He is very powerful and has higher intelligence than his other brothers, so he is kept by his side. What? How dare those lowly humans do this? Poseidon, the god of the sea, was extremely angry. With a quick sense, he discovered that all the temples built by humans for themselves were destroyed by humans. This made him very angry. His face flushed and his hand holding the trident trembled uncontrollably. These despicable humans must pay the price for their despicable behavior. Zeus, who was standing by, was secretly delighted when he saw his brother so angry. Chapter 123. He had long discovered that his brother, Poseidon, the god of the sea, was openly recruiting humans for their faith. He took advantage of the countless fish and abundant resources in the sea to lure humans to believe in him, build temples for him, worship him, and provide him with the power of faith. How could Zeus do as he wished? He called the goddess of love Aphrodite and sent her to the earth to use her beautiful face to seduce humans and destroy the temple of Poseidon, god of the sea. The goddess of love Aphrodite is so charming that even Zeus cannot resist her. Naturally, humans cannot resist such temptation either. The beauty of the goddess of love Aphrodite comes from the laws of the world. In this world, she is synonymous with beauty. Human practice can only cultivate the body, not the mind, and cannot resist her all-encompassing beauty and endless charm. Under her instigation, the huge human being, in a fit of rage, became her puppet. It was also at this time that the goddess of love Aphrodite realized for the first time that her ministry had such a powerful influence. Just when she was enjoying being favored, Zeus felt relieved to go to Poseidon, the god of the sea. Poseidon, the god of the sea, was kept in the dark and thought that humans were not satisfied with his blessings, so they drove their sailboats and fished in the sea. It is time to give these humans who do not fear the gods their due destruction. Poseidon, the god of the sea, stared at Zeus in front of him and spoke slowly. At this moment, his wisdom had long been obscured by his anger, and he could not tell that humans were also victims. Yes, this is my good brother. Zeus grasped the hand of Poseidon, the god of the sea, and said in a deep voice. After unifying their battle line, the two quickly flew toward the earth. The last time, it was also the two of them who took action and wiped out all the humans on earth. Although the humans of this era have improved in strength, they are still no match for the gods. Gods and non-gods are species from two different worlds, and it is basically impossible to compare them. After many years, the earth was once again washed away by floods, and the raging floods washed away everything on the earth. No matter whether they are animals or humans, they are all struggling hard in the raging flood, hoping to survive. As the top race on earth at that time, humans were severely affected. When the flood came, countless humans were still practicing or fighting on the earth and had no time to react. Most of the players were transformed into human form. Without the magical abilities of their plant bodies, they were washed away by the flood. Qin Mu, who was standing aside, watched all this happen quietly. In a trance, he seemed to be weaving a thick silk thread in his hands that emitted endless brilliant colors. It was as if a bowling alley appeared in front of him, and he was throwing the bowling ball in his hand with all his might, hitting all the bowling balls. When all the fantasies were fulfilled, his figure slowly appeared in reality. Under his feet, a river emitting infinite possibilities and flashing countless images flowed quietly until only one possibility remained. This is Qin Mu manipulating the fate of mankind in the world of Greek mythology. He had experienced the power of fate when mankind was destroyed before. That ethereal and mysterious force is the great law that embodies the destiny of all people in the world. He pondered over it, and after gaining in-depth knowledge from other mythological worlds, he finally gained some understanding and knowledge of it. When fate is understood and realized, it becomes possible for it to be manipulated by humans. This is the case with Qin Mu. When the future of mankind changes, he does not need to intervene too much. He just needs to lock the outcome of mankind's destiny in fate and firmly determine it as the result he wants. As for everything else, let the world develop naturally and then get the results you want. At this moment, he just had to wait quietly for everything to happen. The destruction and rebirth of mankind, the seeds he planted grow quietly. The earth was flooded, the waves washed away everything, and all living things were destroyed. Prometheus, the god of prophecy and foresight, felt very sad when he saw the creatures and humans he created being drowned by the flood. His foresight had long made him realize that humanity would face this disaster. At this time, only seeking help from the new god of war Ares can save mankind. The reason why he didn't ask for help from the god of plants was because he couldn't understand the god of plants. He felt that everything the god of plants did was incomprehensible to him. Even if he used his foresight, he could not predict or foresee the future. Therefore, he prefers to seek help from Ares, the god of war, even though he understands the consequences of doing so. In the vast land, there are still many places that have not been flooded, and in between, there are still countless wars. On one of the battlefields, there was fierce fighting and the atmosphere was filled with swords and spears. Prometheus found the god of war Ares who was fighting bloody and desperately. At this time, Ares, wearing golden armor and holding a sharp blade, was like an endless killing machine, blending into the crowd and fighting with many players. Only those players who are not afraid of death can bring him the unparalleled pleasure of killing. Prometheus waited quietly until the fight with Ares, the god of war, ended, and he successfully killed a group of players. Don't you know why the great god of prophecy and vision, the creator of mankind, came to look for me. Ares, the god of war, dropped his sword, took off his armor, and walked towards Prometheus. As he spoke, the golden blood left on his body dripped onto the ground, attracting countless players to scramble for it. The blood of the god of war is his reward to the players. Humans can swallow it and become more powerful. It is the temptation of such treasures that attracts waves of players and humans to participate in the battle. Ares, the new god of war, I admire your bravery and strength. Unfortunately, Zeus, the king of gods, fears your power and decides to exterminate humans and weaken your ministry. At this time, the god King Zeus and the sea god Poseidon began to surround and kill humans from the coast to the inland. When humans who are good at fighting die, the field of war will disappear completely, and your power will be weakened to the extreme. After hearing Prometheus' words of instigation, the god of war Ares couldn't help but frown. It was also at this time that he realized the importance of human beings to himself. If humans perish, its domain will be severely damaged, and it will fall from a powerful god to a weak god. This was not allowed, and he decided to stop the evil deeds of Zeus, the king of gods, and Poseidon, the god of the sea. Chapter 124. On the other side, Poseidon, the god of the sea, rode the waves, holding a trident, surrounded by countless sea monsters, slaughtering humans wantonly. The authority of gods is too strong, and it is difficult for non-gods to resist it. Humans and players fought desperately, but to no avail. There were too many sea monsters in the endless deep sea. Some large sea monsters are extremely huge, like tall buildings. They can sweep their mountain-like bodies around at will, and with the swing of their tentacles, they can knock away a group of soldiers rushing up. Above the sky, Zeus held thunder filled with destructive power and threw it wantonly onto the earth, hitting humans one by one. But they did not realize that after human death, crystal-clear seeds emitting light golden light would emerge from the human body. These seeds absorb all the human soul and vitality, integrate them into the seeds, and transform them into a vibrant embryo hidden under the earth. Stop it! Who told you to kill humans wantonly? A burly golden figure appeared on the distant horizon. I saw the god of war Ares, wearing armor and holding a tall sharp blade, walking slowly towards me in the golden light. Before they got close to Zeus and Poseidon, they felt a strong desire to fight. This is the desire to fight, the desire to fight, and the desire to fight a bloody battle with a powerful enemy. Zeus' eyes were also filled with a strong desire to fight. It had been a long time since he encountered such a powerful opponent. The last time he felt such a crisis was when he was under the influence of Atlas, the god of the sky. In order to let the newborn god know who was the most powerful god in the world, Zeus suddenly rushed up and fought with him. The god of war Ares' main job is to fight, so he was naturally not afraid at all. He immediately rushed up and fought with Zeus. For a moment, there were lightning and thunder in the sky and earth. Countless thunders intertwined and rumbled, forming a sea of thunder and lightning. And in this sea of thunder and lightning, the unyielding roar of the god of war Ares and his shouts of fighting spread throughout the world. The power of Zeus' thunder struck Ares with lightning speed, and his whole body was charred. But as a war priest, he had a strong learning ability, and he quickly used his nimble steps and strong body to resist the thunder attack. While dodging lightning, you can even hold a sharp blade and chop at Zeus at an extremely fast speed. I didn't expect this new god to be so troublesome. Zeus frowned slightly and felt a sense of crisis from the god in front of him. Looks like it's time to show some real skills. Zeus roared to the sky, and his whole body was filled with powerful energy, gushing out like a volcano. The sea of thunder all around him seemed to be summoned and poured into his body, becoming a part of him. In an instant, countless thunders exploded, blue-purple light shone across the entire world, and an orderly destructive force filled the world. This is none other than Zeus's true form of thunder, formed by infinite thunder and lightning. Every move he makes has the boundless divine power of heaven and earth. It's this move again. What a shocking and terrifying move! Poseidon on the side watched intently, his eyes full of envy. This kind of divine art, which cooperates with the god's own priesthood and enhances each other, can make the god's power extraordinary. However, as the god of the sea, he was nominally as famous as Zeus, but he did not have the means to decide the outcome of a matter with a single word, which led to him always being inferior to Zeus. Yes, your appearance makes my blood boil. It seems that I have to use all my strength. The eyes of Ares, the god of war, lit up, and he looked at Zeus as if he saw a delicious meal. After saying this, a strong fighting spirit emanated from his entire body. The energy brought by countless battles between heaven and earth was all integrated into his body, turning him into a terrifying being with a towering figure and dark red skin like magma. Zeus watched all this and his eyelids twitched. The means by which the god of war Ares became stronger seemed much cruder than his own thunder body, but this unlimited superposition still made Zeus feel uneasy. It's not that I'm afraid of not being able to win, it's just that this kind of evil aura, which contains endless murderous intent, is too much of a threat to my mind. If the god of war Ares is defeated, the aura he condenses will explode instantly, polluting his soul and the soul of the god of the sea Poseidon. Perhaps under the impact of the evil spirit, they will temporarily become madmen who only know how to kill. After all, the priests have different duties, and their resistance to evil spirits and murderous auras is also different. Zeus and Poseidon, the god of the sea, looked at each other and immediately understood each other's thoughts. In an instant, a flash of lightning turned into a flash of light, crackling and rushing towards the distance, leaving a faint scratch in the air. The other one sank directly into the sea, and disappeared without a trace as the sea water receded. As the gods who control the laws of elements, it is basically impossible for gods from other branches to stop them from escaping with the help of elements. The god of war Ares watched all this happen and could only roar in anger, raising his hand to destroy everything around him. Mountains, forests, lakes, streams, everything was destroyed in the war and turned into a scorched earth. On the other side, Zeus and Poseidon, who retreated strategically, sought out Aneme, the goddess of wind. The god of wind controls all the winds in the world and knows most of the world's secrets. Zeus suspected that someone had revealed his intention to exterminate humanity, which led to the obstruction of the god of war Ares. After some questioning, Zeus became furious. He got the news from the god of wind that it was Prometheus, the god of prophecy and foresight, who found the god of war Ares. Therefore, Ares, the god of war who was obsessed with war and fighting, came excitedly to stop the actions of Zeus and Poseidon. Damned Prometheus, the god of foresight, you must pay the price for your actions. Zeus, the king of gods, was very angry. He sent gods to capture Prometheus, took him to the Caucasus Mountains, and locked him up. Prometheus, you stay on this Caucasus mountain and watch the destruction of mankind. And to punish you, I will send a chimera to eat your heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys every day. Zeus's cold voice sounded, threatening Prometheus. Chimera is the offspring of Typhon, the king of demons. He has a terrifying appearance like an eagle, with sharp claws and a pointed beak. After Zeus saw that Typhon was defeated and his descendants were quite powerful, he recruited a few obedient ones as his subordinates to handle matters that he was not convenient to deal with. Other gods also have this behavior, but everyone knows it tacitly. Even though Prometheus was tied up with chains at this time, he was still worried about the fate of mankind. I hope you can let those humans go. I am willing to tell you the secret of the curse. Zeus's cold and serious face was stunned, and he couldn't help but ask. I have broken the curse. The goddess of wisdom Metis gave birth to Athena, but she will not surpass me and become the new king of gods. Ha ha ha, you think the curse is too simple. The curse of the son devouring the father that started from the first god King Uranus is not so easy to break. You have swallowed Metis, the goddess of wisdom. Other goddesses will give birth to powerful offspring for you to overthrow your rule. Chapter 125. On the tall and majestic Caucasus Mountains, the biting north wind was blowing, and the cold was oppressive. As the king of gods, Zeus has an indestructible body, but at this moment he felt very cold in his heart. He didn't expect that everything he had done before was just delaying the birth of the curse, and the curse would still appear. Thinking of this, his face became gloomy and he stared coldly at Prometheus. I'll give you a chance. As long as you tell me the information about the cursed child, I'll let you go. Seeing that Chimera showed no sign of wanting to let humans go, Prometheus gritted his teeth and endured being pecked at by the condor Chimera without revealing a word. Zeus constantly used threats and inducements, and punished him with thunder, but Prometheus remained unmoved. Seeing that he was determined and not afraid of torture at all, Zeus had no choice but to leave and think of a solution. Zeus still refused to let humans go, because their existence threatened his position as the king of gods. It is impossible for Zeus to give up the throne of the king of gods. Only by sitting on the throne of the king of gods can he hold power and rule over all the gods from above. As long as humans continue to fight wars, the power of the god of war Ares will grow infinitely, even far surpassing him and threatening his rule. This cannot be allowed. However, the god of war Ares had an amazing talent in combat, and Zeus was not sure he could deal with him alone. If he was injured while dealing with Ares, the god of war, he doubted that his brother Poseidon would miss the opportunity. Poseidon, the second brother, has always been arrogant and overbearing. He has always wanted to invade his sky territory, but he just doesn't have the strength to do it. After he was injured and his divine power was damaged, it was hard to believe that Poseidon would not be moved. After much thought, he decided to use his wisdom to defeat the god of war Ares. The power of wisdom is magical. If used well, it can defeat the strong with the weak and have amazing results. Zeus sat cross-legged on the ground, closing his eyes in deep thought. Countless flashes of inspiration and ideas emerged in his brain, shining like stars, containing countless mysteries of the world and giving Zeus endless solutions. After an unknown amount of time, Zeus woke up from his meditation. He had already thought of a way to deal with the god of war Ares. That is to use beauty to seduce him, make him addicted to it, and then secretly destroy humanity. After the destruction of mankind and the end of war, Ares' divine power will also be affected and weakened. Thinking of this, Zeus thought of the goddess of love Aphrodite. She is the embodiment of love and beauty, the perfect combination of enchanting and divine beauty. Her face, figure, clothing, and temperament all shine with irresistible charm that makes people fall for her. In Mount Olympus, she is a beautiful and attractive sight among all the goddesses. Zeus himself had once pursued her, but was rejected. Zeus believed that the beauty of the goddess of love Aphrodite was irresistible to the god of war Ares, and he would definitely be obsessed with her beauty. At this time, the goddess of love Aphrodite was lying in the temple with her beautiful body, surrounded by countless handsome humans serving her. There were many players among them, standing by and willing to be her lickers, looking at her beautiful body with shining eyes. These people, after seeing the flawless face of the goddess of love Aphrodite, turned into dogs and stayed by her side. Aphrodite has a beautiful face and bright eyes, which sparkle with gentleness and wisdom like the deep starry sky. Her thick long hair was silky soft and fluttered gently in the breeze, adding a sense of mystery and elegance to her. Her petite figure exudes a fascinating charm. Her skin is smooth and delicate, as pure as white jade, and seems to emit a subtle glow. Her figure is graceful and charming, with smooth and perfect lines that make people fall in love with her. Aphrodite's attire was made of fine and gorgeous materials, and she wore a long, light, flowing dress in bright colors. She exudes a charming fragrance, like the fragrance of a sea of flowers, intoxicating. In addition to her appearance, Aphrodite also possesses an irresistible temperament. She is full of confidence and affinity, her smile is gentle and sweet, which can melt anyone's heart instantly. Her voice is soft and beautiful, like the sound of nature, which makes people intoxicated. Goddess of love Aphrodite, I order you to use your beauty to capture the heart of the god of war Ares and make him indulge in your beauty and ignore worldly affairs. Zeus' majestic voice came from the sky and went straight to the ears of the goddess of love Aphrodite. The goddess of love Aphrodite lay on the bed with a graceful figure, her beautiful eyes slowly opening. She had no power to refuse the order of Zeus, the king of gods. She knew that Zeus, the king of gods, was an extremely overbearing guy and would not easily let go of any god who disobeyed his orders. What's more, she had once rejected Zeus's courtship and declined his request to become his lover, which was a waste of his face. Of course, she didn't mean it. The main reason was that after becoming Zeus's lover, she couldn't find other lovers or partners outside. How cruel this is for a goddess with such charm and beauty. She just wanted to give those handsome male gods a home. As you command, my great god king. May your glory spread throughout the world. The goddess of love Aphrodite slowly stood up, revealing her graceful figure. She walked to the side with graceful steps, her delicate and small feet stepping on the ground. With the help of several handsome humans, she put on gorgeous clothes that were as crystal clear as gauze, revealing her enchanting and graceful curves and skin as white as jade. After everything was ready, with the help of the player, she easily found the god of war Ares. As a stunning beauty, she knows how to use her looks. The players surrounding her are a group of face lovers and bootlickers. Just smiling at them and speaking in a slightly coquettish voice can make them lose their minds. After being questioned by the goddess of love Aphrodite, these players immediately mobilized their connections and found the trace of Ares, the god of war. The god of war Ares is easy to find. As long as you find the fighting player, you will definitely see the back of the god of war Ares. On the battlefield, the goddess of love Aphrodite looked at Ares, who was fighting bloody battles with a hint of disdain in her eyes. She was so used to seeing so many men like this. With her outstanding appearance, he soon became her lover. In her imagination, this male god is the same, and he will soon become a captive under her skirt and obey her orders. In order to complete the task more quickly, the goddess of love Aphrodite transformed herself into a wounded woman and lay on the grass nearby. Her sad moans and painful pleas soon reached the ears of Ares, the god of war. Ares, the god of war who was fighting with the enemy, frowned, glanced coldly at the goddess of love Aphrodite, and turned around to continue fighting with the enemy. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.